Yo, what is up, everybody? How are you today? How is it going? You know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 to today. Let me say it again for you. It's the Chord Progression Podcast. Well, I was trying to think of something to do for this week, and I got something for you. So, yes, it's going to be June 25th when the episode releases. And we're kind of at that halfway point through the year, wouldn't you say? I mean, the first half of the year has gone by, second half of the year has come in, or about to come in, I should say, and this is a great time to take a step back and say, okay, so where do we stand with music in 2019 from what's been released and what's come out in the first half of the year? What do we think? What do we like? What do we dislike? What kind of trends do we see? And then let's go into the second half of the year and, well, have some fun, predict, speculate, because there's a lot of new albums coming out. So I was trying to find a guest for this, and I thought, well, I got a buddy that'd be perfect for this, so I'll be giving him a call very shortly and give him an intro. But first, let me do my shameless plugs, because I just plug all my stuff here due to the fact that this is brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2008. Basically, this is the My Song of the Day, Rock 2008 podcast. I just call it the Chord Progression Podcast because I like the sound of that. So, what do we got going on for you? So, you should follow us on all our platforms. That's pretty much what I'm going to tell you in this one. So, we've got Facebook. You want to follow us on Facebook. We run a lot of stuff through there. You're going to see a lot of content. You're just going to get a lot of distribution from there on every single platform that we have. We also have Twitter. Now, what do we do on Twitter? Twitter, we love to talk to you guys about what's going on. What's going on in music? How do you like albums? How do you like songs? What do you think of bands going in certain directions? That's been a big thing going on lately. So you want to follow us there to really connect with us. Also, follow us on Instagram where you're going to get your Song of the Day choice. You're also going to get a lot of questions asked of you on posts like, hey, what album from what band do you like best? Or you're going to get stuff like, help us out. Or what are you listening to today? Or you're just going to get a lot of great stuff, a lot of great content that's really going to, ask you guys questions. We want to get your honest opinion on it because that's what we're all about. The greatest rock community on the internet, or the best rock community on the internet. So, yeah. And we also do a lot of other things there too, like our IGTV videos which come out every single Tuesday, and that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at really what we're doing here. And then there's also our Instagram live streams every Wednesday night, I should say, not every night, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. So if you're on the East Coast of the United States, that's 10 p.m. If you're on the West Coast, that's 7 p.m. If you're all the way in merry old England, that's 3 a.m. Thursday morning for you. Only reason I say that is because I got some guy in there that comes from England, loves it, and I love having him on. So you're going to want to follow us there. Also follow us on YouTube because we put out videos every single Wednesday. That's where we really get into our album reviews, our band reviews. There's a lot of great stuff on there, so go subscribe to that. And also subscribe to our Alexa skill. Basically because if you want to listen to the Song of the Day every single day, subscribe to that because you're going to get the Song of the Day every single day. It's a great way to discover new bands, rediscover old bands that you once knew, find out about new songs, listen to songs you might not have ever heard of, and all of a sudden say, oh shit, I really like this. So, like you say, hey Alexa, play my Song of the Day. And then she'll give you like a 5-second intro from me, and then the song will play in its entirety. Now, why'd I whisper? Because it's in my room right now. I'm shooting this out of my room, and I really don't want her to activate right now and have to yell at her. So, yeah, I have links for all of this in the description, in the podcast notes, so you're going to want to check that out, subscribe, follow, whatever you do. And if you want to be on the podcast, be a guest, well, I got a little form for on our website, and I got the link down there to say you have to fill out the form, it'll shoot me an email, and then we'll get you on. Or you can just DM us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So, yeah. Enough with the shameless plugs. You guys are probably tired of hearing that shit from me. So let's get into the real show. So my buddy Chris, I've known this guy since I was a junior in high school, late in my junior in high school. So this was May 2012 when I met this kid. And him and I become friends, really good friends actually. We'll put it that way, best way to put it. And dude loves music, specifically the kind of music that we're going to be talking about. So the kind that, we put out there for the Song of the Day feature. So, looking forward to it. Shall we give him a call? I think we shall. Wait, I got a text from him saying, sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Let's give Chris a call, and we'll see what happens. Okay. If he doesn't pick up, which I'm pretty sure he might not, that'll be really embarrassing. All right, at least my phone's ringing. Woo! Okay, if he really doesn't pick up, I'm going to be really embarrassed.
What's up?
What's up, Chris? How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you? Long time no talk. It's been a couple days.
Yeah, been a couple of days. Well, apparently, I brought summer down to Milwaukee from me because I was up north the past couple of days, and all of a sudden I come back and it's hot and humid.
Yeah, it's been like that. Been like that over here in Minnesota too.
Just hot and humid, or just like crappy, and all of a sudden hot and humid over the last like day or two.
Been crappy and rainy, and now it's sunny and muggy, and there's more gnats than I know how to swat.
You have to get yourself a bug zapper or something, or teach Remy how to just catch gnats in his mouth.
I need some of that training from Mr. Miyagi to be able to catch them with chopsticks.
You actually might need that, but then again, I'm surprised you haven't gotten that already doing all the MMA shit.
We're a traditional American kind of school. Go in there and hit each other in the face, and if one of you goes to sleep, somebody drag him out and bring in the next guy.
It's pretty traditional right there. I've been seeing some of the leg kicks you've been working on. God damn.
Yeah. Butter hopefully is low kicks, and maybe when I finally get to fighting, I'm going to be aiming for liver shots with that thing. I don't know if you know anything about getting kicked in the liver, but
it sounds like it fucking sucks.
You can cripple a 400-pound man with the right shot to a liver. It doesn't matter how big you are. You kick somebody there, and they're not going to want to feel their intestines for the next couple hours.
All right, well, note to self: if I ever get into a fight, go for the liver.
Yup, it is on the left side, so you need to sneak it in there right under the arm, basically.
I think I can manage that.
I'm sure you can.
Alrighty, well, yeah, well, again, welcome to the show, Chris. Happy to have you on. I think it's actually one of my first, friends that I've had on that I haven't met through this whole entire process, so woohoo!
Hey, glad to be here, man. I love me some rock and roll. Got that Rock USA festival coming up here in what is it now, like 2 weeks?
3 weeks. You're going to Rock USA?
Yes, I am, with Joey and the crew.
Shit!
Yep, we got the 3-day camping passes, so it's going to be another 3 days of rock and roll and vodka lemonades.
I was going to say, do you know who the headliner is on Saturday for that? Because because I know I got to work and shit, I got like no time off, but I was either going to go to Rockfest or Rock USA. I wasn't sure which one.
If I remember correctly, Saturday is a really solid lineup. I'm pulling it up here right now. Saturday is Disturbed and Mastodon.
Jesus Christ.
Kill Switch Engage, Theory of a Dead Man, and Starset all on before them.
My God, yeah. I mean, I may have to show up for that just due to the fact that Disturbed is on there, and I'll get to see him twice in 1 year.
Oh man, if you can come for Thursday, you gotta make it then. Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, Asking Alexandria, I Prevail, back to back to back to back.
Shit, I mean, I'm not gonna be able to get the time off though. That's the problem.
I get it.
But then again, looking at I've already seen Breaking Benjamin once this year. I've already seen 3 Days Grace once this year, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And if I had to see another one again out of everyone that's on here, I would totally go for Disturbed once again.
I don't know, man. You got to see I Prevail. They're the band of the year right now in the rock scene.
I know. We'll definitely get into that. Well, fuck it. We'll get into that right now because I know once I Prevail came out with Trauma, you and I had talked about it to some detail. So far, throughout the whole entire year so far, is that your favorite album of the year? Do you think that's the best album of the year?
As a whole, I do think Trauma is the best rock album of the year. I think personally my favorite was the Fever 333 album. But as a whole in the community altogether, I think Trauma is a consensus best album right now.
See, I kind of have to disagree with you on that one, but where I do have to agree with you is I thought so far that Strength in Numbers by the Fever 333 has been the best album of the year, even though it was, one of the first ones to come out. It just hit so damn hard, and I love me some punk rock, so it just worked real well. While I did really like I Prevail's album, there were a couple of songs in there when I listened to them, there seemed to be some sort of a pattern that had been emerging with certain bands, with certain albums, where they kind of feature some softer sounds to it, where it just kind of sounds like they're going for a straight, I'm not saying going to say straight pop sound, but a song that's going to bring in, some kind of a pop artist for a feature that's going to be more easily promotable on pop radio stations to get more of a media attention and more of a pop culture attention to the band.
100% agree. I think that's kind of been the trend in rock and roll as a whole right now. I mean, you look at just look at Godsmack, for example. Holy crap, did they they changed their sound around? I mean, if we're talking holy crap, they changed their sound around. Bring the Horizon obviously is the easy one, but
oh yeah, I mean, we can get into that too because I've got a lot to say about that one as well. That one, oh god.
I have a bit on that one too, but
let's focus on the positives so far for the first half of the year. But yeah, because I'm just looking at the songs when I looked at I Prevail's album. Like Every Time You Leave, Rise Above It, and Breaking Down were the ones I really thought that kind of pulled that into where it's going to be a softer sound or feature a more of like a pop vocalist that's going to bring in some more attention from the mainstream. However, as you go through the second half of the album, you get songs like Gasoline. I thought Hurricane was freaking fantastic. I love
Bow Down.
And Bow Down. When it came to Hurricane, I just liked how they mixed so many different styles, and it really worked. And Bow Down just hits fucking hard.
Yeah, I love me the heavy stuff. So Bow Down and Gasoline were very easy choices for me.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of that. So that's probably going to be definitely one thing that you're going to want to go off on when Rock USA rolls around. And well,
I'm sure I'll be riding on top of a group of people at some point during that show.
God damn it! Now you're making me really pissed off that I don't have the time off to make sure that I make that happen.
Man, I did crowd surfing for the first time last year, Rock USA, seeing Nothing More. Man, that was a wild show. They put on a hell of a performance. I don't know if you've gotten to see them live yet, but they do this bit with a giant guitar. I think it's a giant bass where they have like 2 or 3 people playing it at once. It's wild.
I have not had the chance to go see them yet, but a lot of people through this whole entire My Song of the Day thing have told me I have to. So, and you're just another one that tells me I have to. So,
yeah. I mean, they're nominated for what? They were nominated for 2-3 Grammys, I believe. I wouldn't be surprised. They're for real band. They're for real band. They're really, really good.
I would not be surprised because, I mean, right away when someone threw it at me, it's like, okay, listen to Nothing More. I'm like, okay, I haven't really heard much of the band, so let's give it a shot. And holy shit.
They're kind of another one of those bands that can almost be looked at as alternative on a lot of their songs. And I feel like they're another one of those bands that reaches out to a little bit broader of an audience, probably why they would be nominated for awards like that.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. So that's going to get them a lot more notoriety too, especially they're being nominated for Grammys. Because then, people that are watching the Grammys are usually people that have more of that pop music fandom and are part of pop culture. So all of a sudden they're seeing bands like this show up and it's like, well, now you're getting interested in them. Much like what happens with pop culture and you start talking to people about rock music and, the Foo Fighters always come up. But then again, everyone likes the Foo Fighters, so...
I think the Foo Fighters have remained pretty rock-oriented. They may not have always been the heaviest rock band, which, hey, everybody do your own thing. You know what I like. Everybody likes their own thing. But I feel like throughout the entirety of their career, they've remained pretty central to rock.
They have, but where I was going with that is just the fact that they do get nominated and win a lot of awards for like Grammys and whatnot. So that pop culture gets to know them. And now with Nothing More, if they're able to pull that off the same way the Foo Fighters did, but kind of keep their own sound, holy shit, they got some magic right there that could really bring a lot more people back to the genre.
So in your opinion, who is the last iconic rock band? Last rock band that everybody knew? Like, Queen and Led Zeppelin, and who's the last big one?
Right now, it might honestly be the Foo Fighters. That might be it.
I don't know if I'd put the Foo Fighters in that kind of category. I feel like it's been a long time since we've had a truly iconic rock band. I mean, I think probably Nirvana, if you go back to them, is the really, really last iconic rock band.
But then maybe, but then again, the close thing we're going to have to that, or a close thing we're going to have to a band that's been to that sort of a category, to that sort of notoriety, would actually be the Foo Fighters, which kind of is odd again with the Dave Grohl connection all over the place. Maybe people just like Dave Grohl.
He just knows how to make music.
He's freaking fantastic at it. But you are right when you think about, the bands from, the 60s, you get the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and everyone knew them. Then you go to the 70s, you get bands like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Rush, try to throw some others in there. And then you can jump to the 80s too with hair metal and just like Van Halen, ZZ Top, Motley Crue. Then you go to the 90s and you get the grunge era, but the one that really kind of took off with that, of course, is Nirvana. But once that ended, you take a look at what's gone on since, and rock has really rather declined within pop culture. And again, I think the only one that's really transcended a lot of different people, so that when you think of rock music, they're the first band you think of, especially for pop culture. A lot of people might go with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I would say if you could go with any band, it would probably be the Foo Fighters. I mean, Metallica was revolutionary, but not on a global stage, more so just within the rock community. They're pretty revolutionary globally, but I mean, just the impact they had on the rock community was a lot bigger than the impact they had on pop culture as a whole.
Yeah, and the impact they had in the rock community really focused in earlier, like in the 80s and the early 90s, which really transformed a lot of things. When you get the big four of Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and I'm trying to think, what was the other one? This wasn't Anthrax. Shoot, I mentioned this to somebody last week, and I'm gonna get completely eviscerated for this one for not remembering who it is.
I can't remember it honestly either. I a little bit better with the modern scene than I am the some of the classics.
Might be Pantera. I don't know.
Sure. We'll call it Pan. If it's not Pantera, it might as well have been.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Alrighty. Any other albums that you listened to this year that have come out so far that have just either blown you away, or you just listen, you're like, holy shit, I'm really into this?
A band that I've kind of been checking out recently is Rival Sons. They're a little more bluesy, kind of they almost fall under, they're like a alternative rock, but on the heavier side of rock than alternative, and they're got like a southern bluesy sound. I've been digging that.
Ooh, that actually sounds
like Sugar on the Bone and Feral Roots. I'd say give them a look if you haven't yet. They're kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly. They don't have a lot of people that are big right now that sound like them.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to give them a shot, just due to the fact that I always like checking out new stuff, and most time when you suggest stuff to me, usually it's pretty kick ass. So
you're welcome for Avatar. That band is and I really want to see them live. I went to Northern Invasion a couple years ago when they were there, but there was somebody else playing at the same time, and I wound up missing their set.
Yeah, that always happens with those kind of festivals. But I had I'm trying to think. I could have gone to see Avatar when they were in Madison, because I remember that wasn't the one I messaged you about. I'm trying to think. The one I messaged you about was Atreyu and Motionless in White, I think. But
yeah, that was the one where you were seeing if I had some free time to make it out to Milwaukee, but didn't work out.
Yeah. But then
Atreyu's good. Their new album was great, but I think Atreyu's new album dropped last year.
Yeah, it dropped in October of last year, so I think I had that on my top 5 albums of the year last year, because I really did like it.
Yeah, without doubt. That was pretty solid front to back.
Yeah, but there was only one other album from last year that was even more solid front to back that really took the cake, and obviously it was Beartooth. They just fucking killed it last year with Disease. There was no better album.
Man, speaking of Beartooth, I saw this crazy YouTube video. There's this female vocal teacher who used to teach normal vocals, and then people started coming to her because they want to learn to scream without damaging their voice. Apparently there's this woman vocal teacher, like 50-year-old girl that's out here just teaching all of these people how to scream. Caleb Shomo was one of them, actually.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Hilarious.
Holy shit, I'm gonna have to go check this out. My God.
I can't remember her name. Apologize to that lady, but she is super talented. Apparently, Caleb Shomo was in the documentary was talking about how he was frying his voice show after show after show, and he just couldn't keep singing like he was. And he went to this lady looking for help, and within a couple of months, she had him where he could go on, do his full screams, and not damage his vocal cords at all.
Well, thank God, because I mean, Caleb's got to keep going and going due to the fact that their last album was fucking fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they do next, basically.
Yeah, I don't want him turning into Ollie or Ollie Sykes.
No, we do not. But
his vocal cords are gone.
Well, again, we'll get to that in a bit, just because I still want to focus on the albums I thought were the better ones of 2019 so far. One of the other ones I have is the better ones of 2019 is Get Scared, when they dropped the Dead Days. This is back in April, I believe they did that. I fucking love the album.
I'll be honest, I have not checked out Get Scared yet.
I think I mentioned you too. It was something where I looked at one of the guys that follows all my stuff. He said I should check out the album like 2 days before it dropped, and I couldn't find anything on it. Like no release date, no press, nothing. All of a sudden, that Friday hit. I looked on Spotify. I'm like, oh shit, there it is. Okay.
Get Scared. What subgenre would you say they fall in within the rock scene?
See, that's actually kind of tough because the album that they've done, it bounced around a lot. I mean, I've heard hard rock, I've heard some metalcore in there, I've heard some post hardcore, I've heard some pop punk. So but primarily I'd stick with that hard rock style.
Okay.
But they kind of do bounce around a little bit, especially on the Dead Days album. They do bounce around from time to time, but it's not like it's a drastic bouncing around where all of a sudden they're going from one song that's just purely focused on one style to all of a sudden it jumps to something completely different. There's a lot of mixture in there, which actually is kind of a breath of fresh air at times.
I wonder if they're on tour at all right now. I mean, if they are, there's a good chance they'll be at Rock USA.
I don't think so, because I think a couple of the band members are dealing with drug related charges with them. So
yeah, that'll stop a tour.
that'll pretty much stop you in your tracks right there.
Not much you can do when you're in jail for drugs.
No, there is not. I'm trying to think of some other albums that I really liked this year. One album that someone tried to get me to listen to, and I listened to it, and at first I thought it was okay, but as I'm listening more and more, it's kind of just sounding more run of the mill. Is New Year's Day's new album that came out this year.
Another album I did not listen to. I'm pretty sure you sent me that one too, but that one may have slipped through the cracks. Go ahead. I'm not
surprised, just because the fact is, at first I'm like, okay, this is rather good, and then as I'm listening to it more and more, it's just more the tracks start sounding the same. The theme is just kind of thrown down your throat, and there were 2 or 3 tracks I'm like, okay, now I'm actually kind of still listening to these here and there, but as the rest of the album, I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, there's been a lot of albums like that. I was checking out the band Bad Flower. I don't know if you've checked out them at all. They got all sorts of songs on the radio right now, primarily being Heroin and Ghost. Both pretty good songs. The rest of the album, there's a couple good songs in there, but it's pretty lackluster all the way through. And I was really surprised at that, because they seem like a band that would have a lot of passion in their music.
I've been seeing a lot on them too. I just haven't had a chance to really take a listen to Bad Flower yet. I think they were going to be here for Summerfest this year, but they were part of the second July 4th headliner show that got canceled. So
yeah, and I don't know what's up with that band, but based on the album, it sounds like there's a lot of drug problems going around within that group of people. So hopefully they can get that figured out. But at the same time, a lot of their music is centered around it, so I don't know how that would change them.
I mean, it could definitely change them one way or another for sure, but hopefully it kind of just they kind of either figure it out so that they can just stick with the path, or you never know. It's rock. Anything can happen.
Ain't that the truth?
As I say, the only other album that I really listened to heavily that I've been kind of getting into a little bit more as I started listening to it more was Motionless in White's new album, Disguise.
I like those songs you sent me by Motionless in White. Was it Mask and...
I'm trying to think, which ones did I send you?
Man, it was the 2 big ones off the new album. It was Mask and...
Oh, that was... No, the 2 ones I sent you were Disguise.
Or Disguise?
Yeah, I sent you the titular song, and then I think I might have sent you Thoughts and Prayers.
I believe so. They were heavy. My friend... did you ever get to meet Tim Heidman?
I don't think so.
Anyways, he's a guy I went to school with, and he's another metalhead, and he really liked Motionless in White when they first came out. He's been telling me about them for years, and one of those bands I never really gave the time of day. Wasn't a fan of a huge fan of like the Manson style rock, whatever you want to call that, almost like a horror style. And it seems like Motionless in White shares a lot of that with Manson, but they also bring in more of a metalcore aspect to it, which I think ties it all together really nice.
Yeah, because that's pretty much when the first person told me, hey, you have to listen to Motionless in White. I looked up the band right away, and I just literally thought, wait, is this some kind of a Manson ripoff? And it was all based off of the look, too. So then I'm going to start listening to some of the music. I listened to the first song. I think it was Voices off of their Graveyard Shift album. That one came out in 2017. I was actually kind of getting into it. Then all of a sudden heard Eternally Yours, and I was kind of hooked right then and there. And their new album, there are some songs that I'm like really stuck on. I'm like, yeah, I constantly listen to these. However, there's like 1 or 2 which I think are just kind of complete duds. But then again, if I've got 11 songs and I think 9 of them are between decent and really fucking good, and 2 that are duds, I'll take that over, something that I've got, 1 phenomenal song and then 10 straight pieces of crap.
I've heard plenty of albums like that. Not to not to throw Shine down under the bus, but that last album, Attention, one or two good ones, Monster and Devil, and the rest of them you can miss me with all that.
Yeah, I was I was into it a lot more last year than really haven't given that album even a pass at all in 2019.
They've changed so drastically over the years that they've become more of a radio rock band than anything else, it seems like.
Yeah, well, speaking of drastic change, let's jump to that one band that had that ginormous change with their
Which one are you talking about, huh?
Well, we kind of alluded to it earlier when we started talking about Amo and Bring Me the Horizon and Ali Sykes. So, yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Well, I respect their decision. I'm not a fan of it, but I respect their decision. I can't remember who the interview was with. It may have been Caring, but I don't want to say that for sure. But they were doing an interview where they were talking about the stylistic change and why they went the direction they did with the new album. And basically what I got out of it is they just said, hey, we're not these angry, angsty young adults anymore. We've kind of grown up and moved on with our lives. And we want our music to reflect that. And I respect that sort of decision. I mean, definitely make music that means something to you. But at the same time, man, I wish Ollie would still be screaming like he did in some of the old albums.
Dude, to kind of jump in and add a little bit to that, I actually made a whole YouTube video about like why did Bring Me the Horizon make this kind of a change. And that interview I did put in there, and yeah, it was all about, they're not that band anymore, so it would seem disingenuous if they tried to do it. Maybe the music wouldn't be as good. Another reason I found was they wanted to bring more people into the rock scene more gradually, so start them out with Amo and then jump to That's the Spirit and then go to their older stuff. So I do understand the move, and I respect them what they're trying to do. However, I still think the album is complete crap up to this point, except for maybe Mantra, which I actually really liked that song when it came out. And I thought, yeah, this album, we're starting on a good note. And then all of a sudden, more singles started coming out, and I just started getting more and more.
What about
confused.
That tune, Wonderful Life?
Wonderful.
With Danny Filth.
I liked how hard he tried to go, but the one thing I didn't like was just the pace of it. It just seemed like it kind of dragged on.
And Sugar, Honey, Ice, and Tea?
I honestly have no recollection of what that song even sounds like. I know I listened to it like 4 or 5 times just for the video, but I have no recollection of what that song even sounds like.
It's a catchy tune. It's a little bit clever. It actually has a little bit of lyricism in it, which I think that's something that rock community needs a little more of as a whole.
Because I gotta look it up because there are 3 that stick out in my the 3 that stick out in my mind. That was like the ones that always stuck with me were Nihilist Blues, Medicine, and Mother Tongue, when it's just talking about the complete change, where I thought, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, and so I had the opportunity to see them live with Fever 333 back at the Armory a couple months ago. Actually,
oh yeah, you lucky bastard!
It was still snowy.
Oh yeah, you lucky bastard, because you got to see the Fever 333.
Awesome show. I was listening to their music basically for the first time, before I went to the show. At least, I mean, their new album I'm referring to. Listening to their new album the first time before I was going to the show, and a lot of it was, what the hell is this? I mean, I was, with Mantra being the radio single, I was expecting something completely different on that album, but I was really disappointed with it as a whole until I actually got to go see it live, and it's not something I would really put into the rock genre, but it's something that when you get to experience it firsthand, it's a lot better than when you're listening to it through your headphones.
I kind of get where you're coming with that, because I thought last year that one of the worst albums I've heard all year from last year was 3 Days Grace's new album, The Outsider. But then when I saw them open up for Disturbed back in March, I kind of took a little bit of a different tone to it. Just because, again, when you see it and hear it live, it does sound a bit different. It does give you a little bit of a new perspective on it. However,
I also don't think the feeling and the emotion just didn't transfer over correctly on the album. Seeing in person and seeing how passionate they were about their new sound, the new direction that they're trying to head, makes me want to be a little more supportive of that change.
I understand the change. I have trouble being more supportive of it just because of, again, it just seems like there's a lot of songs that just completely abandoned everything that they've ever done and just kind of went into a direction that was going to gain a larger audience, which I do get that happens. And maybe that's just the sound they wanted to go with. I'm not entirely sure on that.
Mm-hmm.
but it's just something that I was just not a huge fan of.
Going back to that conversation about the last iconic rock band, I think you could really argue that Bring Me the Horizon is trying to become an iconic rock band, given all the stylistic choices that they're filtering through right now, something that definitely reaches out to a broader audience.
I think there was in one of the interviews when they talked about how they were trying to bring more people into the rock music scene gradually. That does make a lot of sense. I think that might have been a part of it in one of the comments that I was seeing from like whoever was interviewing them about that topic.
Do it for the legacy.
Kinda. That does make sense because but when you saw them live, did they play more of their newer stuff or did they jump back into some of the older stuff where they just went completely balls to the wall?
It was about, so I would say it's like a 45-45-10 split. 45 was stuff from within the last 2 or 3 albums. The other 45% was all off the newest album, and 10% was that really heavy stuff that they just don't really play anymore. They actually do a medley of all of their really good old stuff. Basically all the what was the name of that first album of theirs?
I don't know. I'll bring it up real quick, just so that we don't forget.
Yeah, it's the one with the freaking shark on it.
The one with the freaking shark on it. Count Your Blessings.
Count Your Blessings, man, that was a heavy album. And I mean, they basically took all the best songs off of that album, the one before it, and made it into like 3 or 4 minute section where they kind of mashed together all of their really heavy, screamy stuff.
That's not a bad idea if you're really, again, when you're with what we saw and what they're really trying to do, kind of bring more people gradually into it. And the people that are going to go see the show, especially now, are people that, or this year, I should say, are people that really got into Amo. And then you're going to slowly bring them into it with, 45% of the stuff off of Amo, and then about 45% of stuff off of, like, That's the Spirit, and the album before that was Sempiternal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're going to get a 4-minute melody of just the super hard stuff, where you're going to get the fans that came here to see that kind of stuff. You're going to please them with that, and then you're going to get that new audience to recognize, oh shit, maybe we actually like some of this older stuff and some of this heavier stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping that they go back to what they were doing once they gain a larger audience. But I think it's kind of doubtful at this point at the direction that it seems like rock and roll is heading as a whole. Seems like they're working a lot of pop rap influence into rock and roll lately. I mean, even Fever 333, who I think executes it really, really well. It seems almost a little bit tainted, like rock and roll is looking for an identity right now.
Yeah, and I think actually one band that could really pull that off is honestly the Fever 333, given the fact that they have such a huge political nature to it, and with the political climate that we're currently in, especially with it just being ramped up with a presidential election next year, that could oddly enough bring a lot of people back to the genre due to the fact that the Fever 333 just goes absolutely hard with that stuff and puts it out full force. Yeah,
I don't think, as much as I hope this isn't true, I don't think Fever 333 is ever going to be one of those bands with a very wide audience. It seems like a lot of music, at least in pop culture these days, it avoids political topics as much as possible, given, I mean, how toxic the environment's revolving political discussion is right now. I mean, it's impossible to put out an opinion without having half the people in your country getting mad at you.
Yeah, you do make a point there. There's a lot, but then again, there's a lot of pop artists now that are coming out with more political songs and a little more socially conscious songs to really kind of hone in on those issues that could be potentially divisive.
Definitely, but I feel like as a whole, the music industry is more so moving towards kind of like a let's go out and party and like mainly club music. It seems like it's kind of the direction it's going. Stuff that has a strong beat and the lyrics can matter less.
Try to make it more of an escape for people.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I've been getting. Because everybody puts up with those sort of charged conversations from sun up to sundown. That when they go to listen to their music, they're looking for something a little less polarizing.
Yeah, I think one band that actually did that this year as well, that came out again with a new album, and it was one where the sound I really wasn't very keen on, was Who Do You Trust by Papa Roach.
I just listened to Papa Roach's new album today, actually. That was an interesting album because there's a couple songs on there. I'm like, all right, this is okay. And then the other half of the album, it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, what I think, well, I'm actually kind of interested in kind of seeing what they did, just because what it looked like they did was pretty much the first like 15 years of their career, they had this specific sound that you was going to be unmistakably Papa Roach. But then they came out with Fear in 2015, and they kind of they kind of got away from a lot of that. I'm not sure they got away from that real youthful energy, and they kind of focused it in more to make kind of like a more concentrated, harder sound to it. So I really like Fear. Then all of a sudden, Crooked Teeth came out 2 years ago, and it kind of took the exact same concept, except maybe moved made the pace a little bit more rapid at times, but kind of drew back some of the intensity. And it seems like that with Who Do You Trust, it kind of just drew back the intensity even more.
Yeah, I would say that you're definitely correct with that.
So I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan. I did like Renegade Music, and I hope if I get to see him live again, they get to open with that, because that would be a fantastic opener. But outside of that, I'm looking at the rest of the songs, and I know there are some of them that people really latched onto, but there are some I'm just like, I never really latched on to any of these except maybe Renegade Music.
Yeah, I would be basically in the same boat as you. It's one of those. I'm gonna have to give that Papa Roach album another listen to really form a full opinion on it. But it seems like other than one or two songs, there's not too much there that's really gonna have much value to me past the first couple listens.
Yeah, and then one of the other albums I really looked at this year, where I looked at it and I thought, I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be that much of a rock album, but I knew that it was definitely, I didn't know it was going to go that completely soft, was Andy Biersack's solo project, his second album for that.
Andy Biersack, what band is he from?
Black Veil Brides.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he has a solo project called Andy Black, and he came out with his second album this year, and I was... There's like one song on there that kind of sounds like Born and Run by Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Otherwise, it's just the one. I know there's a lot of people that like it. The one thing that throws me off is like when I hear what he does with Black Veil Brides, when I hear what he does with this, it's just like, I'm having trouble kind of like splitting the two down the middle and saying, okay, I know this is this part, I know this is this part, and I just like I'm expecting something a lot harder over here with the solo project, but it's a lot softer, a lot more mellow, and a lot more experimental.
Yeah, given where he came from, Black Veil Brides, you'd think that he'd just crank it up to 11 and let her fly.
Yeah, no, he turns it all the way down and just kind of mellows it out and really goes a lot more sentimental. Where, again, there are some songs in there that I thought, these aren't bad, but there's a lot of them where just kind of they're just not mesmerizing at all.
Once again, though, I mean, that just seems like the rock community as a whole right now. Everything I hear on the radio is the softest song off the album.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of, and not only that, but because I mean, I'll even go to Motionless in White as well. Because the song that I've seen a lot of people like on that album the most is the softest song on the album.
I mean, look at I Prevail. Oh, maybe not the softest song on the album, but I Prevail's major song that ever playing has been Paranoid. And I mean, as far as that album goes, that's definitely one of the lighter ones on there.
Yeah, I wish they'd focus more on the second half of the album, because that's where they go hard, and that's where the real, meat and potatoes of the whole entire album is.
It's really tough because I understand what they got to do. Rock as a whole isn't selling like like me and you wish it would, and they're trying to bring in new audiences, but at the same time, they're losing the people that really want to be a part of that community, trying to appeal to others that maybe aren't aware of what's been going on over the past 20 years.
Yeah, well, when you get more of like a casual fan to listen to it, it's basically when bands are going to be out there, you're going to get a casual fan to listen to it. They're going to listen to what's on the radio. They're going to listen to what's popular. And if what's popular is going to be the softest song on the album, then it's kind of going to get stigmatized into a way where rock's going to seem soft.
Yeah, and that's kind of... I mean, Joey Warner's dad, we call him Pops, but he's talking about that all the time, how it seems like, I mean, rock has almost kind of lost his balls, as he puts it.
And for a guy like Joey's dad to say that actually means a lot, given the fact that how much he really likes the genre.
Oh, yeah, he's been diehard. I mean, ever since Joey's been born, he's been friends with Blast and Metallica and all sorts of stuff like that, Foo Fighters. the Eagles. I mean, since day one, I mean, he's as big a rock fan, and a big reason why I'm such a big fan of rock and roll too, being able to go to the festivals with him and Joey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've been to so many festivals with him and Joey, and then not only that, but I mean, I was able to go to a show with you guys when we saw 10 Years in Chevelle.
That was a fun show.
That was a fun show.
10 Years and Chevelle, both great bands. 10 Years was one of my favorite bands for a while. I over-listened to it, I'll be honest. So I'm just kind of in a period to take a little bit of a break from them.
When we saw 10 Years for the second time, I was kind of disappointed in that set.
I liked the intimacy of the basement show. I think you were probably missing the energy that you were looking for, but I liked the ability to be so close to the stage and feel like it's kind of almost a private show.
Well, I think, again, I think it's just the fact that I was expecting something harder. But like when I'm expecting a more intimate, softer, personalized show, there are sometimes when you're expecting that where you can really get something fantastic, and I think you probably got more out of that show than I did. However,
yeah, I mean that was at the prime of my listening to them as well, so I was really excited going into that show just to begin with.
Yeah, I was just, what actually got me happy I still went to that show was the fact that I got to hear Tremonti open. That was awesome. Yeah.
That was really cool. I mean, that's pretty crazy that Tremonti's an opening act there.
Yeah, especially in the basement show at the rave, too, which is kind of ridiculous. But
shoved them all in the smallest venue. Yeah. The smallest room in the venue.
Well, not only that, but I think it was last month when I saw Seven Dust and In This Moment. They were in the ballroom, and then Tech Nine was there, and they had Tech Nine in the basement. That's
crazy, because last time I saw Tech Nine, he was playing the ballroom as well. That was a fun show. He got to play some music that he's not allowed to play anymore. Well, because of the rave. Did you ever hear that story?
No, but I want to hear it right the fuck now.
So, Tech Nine has this song called Titties, and he also has a song called Areola. Well, if you can guess, there's a lot of areola and a lot of titties anytime he plays that song. So I got to go there, and I got to see him perform in all of his titillating glory. But a couple of years after I went, and I think I was living out in Minnesota at the time, he played another show at the rave where he was playing titties, and the 16-year-old girl who's for the show, 18 plus event, but she still snuck her way in, was pulling off her top in the middle of that set. The daughter's mom found out about the show and sued Tech Nine. He's no longer allowed to play those songs anymore.
Wow.
Yep, happened at the rave. He actually has a song about it. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a song he has going into this actual event where 16-year-old snuck in at the rave and flashing her titties, and he got sued to hell for it.
All right, I have to go find that fucking song now. But then again, one of the other crazy things too is when something like that happens to an artist, yet he still comes back to the rave.
Oh, he loves the rave. I mean, every artist says they love the venue they're at, and this is the best show that they've ever been to. I get how the whack goes, but I mean, he comes to the rave 2-3 times a year. He has to legitimately like that venue to show up that many times.
Well, not only that, but I'm going to jump in with when he was playing the basement, because I saw Seven Dust. Seven Dust had played there. It was their 22nd time playing at the rave, and it was In This Moment's 11th.
Wow. So it's kind of crazy to think how long In This Moment has been in the spotlight. I mean, for whatever reason, in my head, In This Moment feels like a new band to me, but the fact that they played the rave 11 times just seems crazy.
Yeah, and I think they've got 5 full albums, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But at least 4.
Yeah, but when they came to play, they brought the fucking crowd. It was. I'm trying to think. I mean, it probably wasn't the biggest crowd I've ever seen at the rave, but it was one of the bigger ones.
I think the biggest crowd that I ever saw at the rave was probably that. It might have been Seether. Chevelle 10 Years was huge, but that Seether show was really, really big too.
That Seether show that was a big one. Holy shit, you're right.
Seether, love Seether as a band, but they just don't try on stage. Not that they really have to at this point. I mean, when you have 15 songs that everybody there knows, you don't got to do much but go up there and play your music.
That's pretty much what they did when we saw them too.
100%. Yeah, they said, "Hey guys, how's it going?" We said, "Good." And they said, "All right, here's all 15 songs."
And then they came back out. "All right, we're gonna play 2 more." They played Fake It, and it's just like, okay, we're good. See you guys.
Yep.
It's like enough of that.
Not a lot of stage presence, but damn, they have a lot of good music.
Yeah, you're accurate when you say that.
Honestly, if I was that big and all I had to do was show up, play 15 songs, collect my check, and leave, I'd probably do it too.
There are a good amount of bands that could probably pull that off too, but there's a lot of them that don't. A lot of them that just go on and just put on one hell of a show still.
I respect the ones that go on and put the hell of a show still. The ones that, even though they've blown up, they still want to give the fans their money's worth.
Well, it's like
one of those. Go ahead.
It was like when I went to go see Disturbed. It was I
was just gonna bring up Disturbed.
Yeah, it was like, so we're basically on the same point of that, because the show was freaking fantastic, and then during Inside the Fire, all of a sudden you're looking up, you're like, what the fuck is up there? And all of a sudden these huge, like, just, I don't know how to describe it, just like looked like ribbons just fell down and they were just on fire, engulfed in flames. There's just flames shooting up everywhere. I'm just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I saw them at Northern Invasion, whatever that was, 3-4 years ago, and that was probably the best show of the entire festival. I mean, when the pyrotechnics at their show is insane. Speaking, another interview, they've had interviews about how they wanted to stop doing the pyrotechnics for a little while because everybody was getting burned and everything.
Well, because they just put them so close to the people too. Because when I saw them, I was right on the rail in the front of the stage, about left side, so right by. For that show, Dan Donegan was by us, but pretty much the whole entire time. But then all of a sudden, once it starts going, I literally felt the fucking heat. It was like being in a fucking sauna for 5 minutes.
100%. I couldn't imagine playing on stage through something like that. I mean, I'd be dying of heat stroke up there.
Well, that's why that was their last song before they went off, and then came back and did 3 more.
Yeah, give them a little bit of time to dump some water on their heads and light the candles back up.
Well, literally what they did was they went off for like 3 minutes. They came back on, and then David was reading a letter that one of the fans gave him at a meet and greet. Brought the fan up on stage, read the whole entire letter, then had the kids sit right in front of the drum kit, and they played The Light.
Man, one of my favorite concert memories ever was when Five Finger Death Punch brought on like a 6-year-old to play Burn MF. I get rock is family, but you at some point you got to be like, all right, this one's an adults only tune.
Well, there was one kid. This was when I saw Hollywood Undead about 2 years ago at the rave. They brought it. They always bring on some kid for coming in hot, but they let this kid actually rap the first verse, and he just went through the whole entire thing like it was nothing. Just like, damn. Okay. They must have met him before the show or something. He's like, hey, watch this. I can do this entire song. They're like, all right, remember that for later. Yeah.
Back pocket it.
And then all of a sudden they're about to do it. All of a sudden they see him up front with his dad. It's just like, now that's a good dad, taking your kid out on a fucking school night. Bring him up here. And then all of a sudden, boom, just does the whole entire first verse flawlessly.
I couldn't even imagine doing something like that. I'd probably get 2 or 3 words right. Put me up in front of a crowd like that, and nothing good's gonna come of my set.
Yeah, you start. First word, we're doing fine. Second word, okay, that was good. Third word, yep. Fourth word, fuck, I forgot it.
Basically, if I were to do like a Linkin Park song, I'd probably get like it starts with one thing, and after that, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably fuck that up too, just because I'd just be looking at the crowd, be like, holy shit, look where I am. Oh god, yeah, I fucked up, didn't I? Yep. Okay.
I guess that's one of those things though, where as you age as a musician, you play in front of bigger crowds and bigger crowds. You don't. I mean, unless you're the yodeling Walmart boy, you don't just go from doing nothing to all of a sudden playing a packed stadium.
Dude, he had a show at the rave in April.
I know, and I wanted nothing to do with it. You can miss me with all that.
I was dumbfounded. The fact of the matter was, there was a yodeling kid who got a headlining gig. It makes no sense.
Yeah, the internet's a powerful and strange place, and I don't understand its magic.
I don't think any of us will to any point.
That's 100% fair.
All right, now we kind of went through the first half of the year so far, looking at what albums we like, what albums we didn't like. But there's a lot of bands that have announced albums coming out for the second half of 2019.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, so should we just dive right into it? And
that new Slipknot album. After hearing that song Unsainted, I am ready. Fuck me up with that new Slipknot album.
I've got one major concern was I'm surprised that they didn't put All Out Life on that album as like as like the first single.
I think that was more of a, hey guys, it's been a while and it's still going to be a while. Here's a snack.
honestly might be, but I've seen a lot of different opinions when it comes to the new Slipknot album. There's a lot of people that are thinking like, holy shit, like what you said, like, holy shit, I'm fucking ready for this. But I've seen a lot of people like, still kind of nervous and wonder what the fuck's going on.
I was reading into the promoting that they've been doing about the album, and they were saying that the album is a look into kind of good versus evil and morality. And I think that's always a really fun album topic. So I'm excited to see how they execute it.
That'll be really interesting. And when they were talking about kind of like the stylistic version of it, I think they were kind of focusing more on what they had done in Iowa, but not necessarily what they've done in Iowa. So kind of like an Iowa influenced album.
Hey, that's fine by me. I like the heavier Slipknot, like Spit It Out and Pulse the Maggots and that kind of stuff. So if they want to go back to the old days and really just shove it in my face, cool.
So going back to, like when was that, like 2007, 2008?
Might have even been earlier than that. It might have been like 2003, but you'll have to check. Don't quote me on that.
well, just them shoving it in 9-year-old Chris's face. Just, here you go. Bah!
I mean, Slipknot and Chord was basically what I started out with when it comes to metal band. I take that back. Don't judge, but I started with like Fall Out Boy and All American Rejects, and that one was kind of put me on the path of rock and roll. It's kind of like what it seems like rock and roll's trying to do right now, kind of that pop punk rock, and the transition slowly into, Chord, and then Slipknot and Disturbed and all those new metal bands.
Yeah, well, don't worry. I started out with Van Halen, ZZ Top, and Poison.
Okay, that's a lot cooler than All American Rejects and Fall Out Boy. Don't even try to act like those bands are in the same conversation.
What if I said A Journey was also a part of that?
Still better than Fall Out Boy and All American Rejects. All American Rejects, not a fan whatsoever, but Fall Out Boy is one of those bands that they released a couple songs and albums. Like, dang, you guys are still pretty good. Not really my cup of tea, but like that song they did, Save Rock and Roll with
Elton John.
That was a good song.
Yeah, I like the album they did in 2013, but the last two I just were like, yeah, they're kind of definitely going down that softer, kind of like more, I wouldn't say pop punk style, because they had that pop punk style when they were really popular back in like 2004, 2007.
Yeah, for like From Under the Cork Tree and
Infinity on High.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, they're going more with whatever's kind of more popular, where I want to go more of like a, kind of like that softer, more electronic-y rock.
Side note, little detour here. Did you hear A Perfect Circle's new album?
No, I didn't.
All right, don't. You're not missing anything.
Okay.
Oh my God. I was so looking forward to James Maynard Keenan having a new album, and like after Outsider and all the decent songs A Perfect Circle has had, they just put out the most melodic, softest, just I didn't even know what genre it was. It wasn't rock. It was bad.
So stay as far away from Eat the Elephant as I possibly can.
Yeah, that would be my opinion. But with that being said, another album coming out this year, Tool's new album, or at least, rumor has it.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that too. First off, do you think it's actually going to come out at the end of August?
I do believe that Tool is going to have a new album this year. I don't know if it's going to be the end of August, but I do believe that there's a new album coming, given how long it's been, and that he already produced a new album with A Perfect Circle.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the same thing, where I think we're going to get a new Tool album. I don't think it's going to come to like October or November. I think that August 30th date is just going to end up being like, got you guys once again. It's going to be in 2 months.
That's going to be a big album for me. Tool is one of those bands, one of those bucket list bands that I've never really gotten to see, but something that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And how their new album, the sound of their new album is going to be pretty important. If I actually, they're an expensive show. I mean, if you want to see Tool, the only place to see Tool is live. You can't find them on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, I don't think.
Yeah,
so if you want to see him, you got to see him live, and you got to pay for it. And
I've seen some things on Instagram with people going to their shows recently this year and kind of trying to get some videos of some of the new stuff that they're putting out there. And I'm still having trouble trying to decipher exactly what the hell's going on. Just the fact that I'm like, it's a cell phone video, so it's kind of tough to hear if I don't actually know what the song is.
Yeah, and they're really big on not having their music just floating around openly on the internet. Like I don't know who their internet team is, but they do a damn good job of making sure that their songs aren't easy to listen to.
Yeah, because I can't even find them.
That's what I'm
They're
saying.
close to fucking impossible to find.
The only place that I ever find them on YouTube, and that's because there's so many copies of every video that it's impossible to take them all down. I mean, that's where I can go to listen to like Enema and 46 and 2 and all of those really good tunes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that new album, I'm hoping that they don't go the direction of Perfect Circle went, because that would be heartbreaking if they went as soft as a Perfect Circle, which given the Tool's background, I don't think they will, but there's always that chance.
There's always that chance because there are some bands that have gone that route. I was just like, again, like Bring Me the Horizon after, hearing what Mantra was to begin with. I'm just like, what is
Them,
this?
Perfect Circle, Godsmack, Shinedown, just to name the big ones. I mean, there's a lot of them going that direction right now.
And hopefully it kind of changes course again because, again, we like that harder stuff anyway, so.
Yeah, I like it when it's a little more in your face. But I don't think that's going to be the style that really brings people back to rock and roll. I think the style that's really going to bring rock and roll back is kind of that Greta Van Fleet. Obviously not the Greta Van Fleet sound, but the Led Zeppelin kind of sound.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming with that. Any other new albums that are on your radar right now that are going to be coming out in the second half of the year? Because I've got a list still if you don't have any that are right on the top of your head.
Well, slipped out of the big ones for me, given that what really started me with rock and roll or metal was new metal. So I kind of have a soft spot for that. So, but who else is dropping a new album this year?
Well, I'm trying to look and see who really. Alter Bridge is dropping one in October. That was just announced last week.
Alter Bridge is another one of those bands that I think is on the cusp of being huge. Really, really, really good band, and they deserve more recognition than they get.
Well, especially with guys like Miles Kennedy and Mark Tremonti in the band. I'm curious to see what happens with it because it seemed I can't remember what there was an interview with Mark Tremonti where he said something about where the album's a little bit more free spirited. So I'm just like, what are you kind of going off with that? Because are you talking free spirited as they're going off on more influences from what each of the guys is doing? Or is it somewhere it's, they're just kind of going off and just doing whatever the fuck they feel like and just like, we're going to do this on this one. We're going to do this on this one.
Well, I also feel like more free spirited could also kind of mean that Led Zeppelin sound like Greta Van Fleet's executing really well too, because that's a very, almost kind of hippie, free spirited sound.
It could. I still kind of hope they go with more of a harder sound, kind of a little bit more influence through the writing styles of Mark Tremonti. But again, we'll see what happens there.
But also given that Miles Kennedy is doing the vocals out there, he has the vocals to be able to do something like that.
Oh, he easily does. Let's see, who else do we have? One band that I know you're not necessarily the biggest fan of, but I've been getting a little bit to more and more. Come out with an album on August 2nd is Skillet.
Man, Skillet's one of those bands for me where listen to them right away, and there was just so much Jesus jam-packed into their songs that I couldn't get over it. And I listened to one of their newer songs not too long ago, popped up on my Spotify, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'll give it a listen through. I can't remember the name of it, but all I remember is it wasn't as bad as I thought they were before.
Well, what was it off of the new album, though, or was it something off of one of the previous ones? Do you remember?
New album.
Okay, so then it either had to be Legendary or Save Me, because they kind of... One thing that I've noticed what they've done is with... Especially since I probably think 2009, maybe, stuff like the songs they kind of go a little bit harder on, they kind of take their the Christian reference and dial it back, or kind of hide it a little bit more, and don't make it as in your face with it.
Yeah.
And those are the songs, I really like, and it seems like this album so far has really, or the new album with the singles that have been released, have been going that way, where it's hard, where the reference is still there, but it's not as heavily there as other stuff they've done previously.
Yeah, it's a little more of an accent than kind of a staple.
Yeah, and again, it's still going to be there. It's Skillet. They're still going to have all that there, and you're not going to get away from it. They're going to always have it there. Totally understandable because that's what they're about. And I enjoy it when they go with that harder sound and they keep the more Christian references in a not necessarily, again, not as in your face, more kind of it's a accent to the song.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if they take that route and stick with it, give them a second chance because they seem like, and I like how.
Hold up, Chris. You're kind of breaking up on me a little bit here.
Sure. Let me walk over by a window. You know how it be, that phone life.
Yeah. All right. I can hear pretty good right now. So.
All right, but what I was saying is if Skillet winds up going that direction where they kind of make their Jesus part of their music more of an accent than a staple, they're definitely a band that I want to give another shot because I like how what's the name of their lead singer, the male?
John Cooper.
John Cooper. I really like how his voice has developed over time. It's gotten grittier and deeper.
Well, then you should check out his side project, Fight the Fury.
Fight the Fury. Is that another? Is it considered a Christian band, or is it kind of just its own thing?
It's kind of its own thing. Basically, what happened was outside of Skillet, all four members of the band kind of went and is doing certain side projects where John Cooper and their guitarist Seth Morrison have this Fight the Fury band, which is a lot more metal. So sure. The sound is there, and then the Skillet drummer Jen Ledger started her own solo project with the rhythm guitarist for Skillet, Corey Cooper. She is actually producing that whole entire album. She actually produced the whole entire EP. So they're kind of still like they're doing like separate things, but they're still all together at the same time. It's kind of wacky, but it's kind of cool at the same time. It seems
like a lot of artists these days have side projects, which honestly I probably would too. I feel like I would need a change of pace stylistically.
Yeah, and so if you give a shot to Fight the Fury, one of my favorite songs off is My Demons. I think just kind of like when you're talking about John Cooper's evolving voice where it kind of gets more grittier and heavier, that's one song that really puts it out there for you.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to the band Blacktop Mojo?
Blacktop Mojo? Absolutely not, but now I'm curious.
So they're another one of those bands that's going to be at Rock USA this year. I don't think they have a new album coming out, so it's a little bit off topic, but I just recently started listening to them, and they have a cover of Dream On by Aerosmith. Man, does their vocalist really shine on that song.
Okay, I'm going to have to fucking check that out then.
He super, super, super talented vocalist. Really, I think they're one of those bands that's going to be kind of on the come up. Definitely. One band on the come up that I really don't like right now is Bad Wolves.
Really?
Absolutely despise them. Everything is a cover song.
Interesting. Because I haven't really given Bad Wolves that much of a listen to. I don't like the fact that rock seems to be doing so many cover songs right now, and it seems like most of the bands are doing it. Not most of them, but the ones that are doing it pretty bad. Bad Wolves being one of them, and Five Finger Death Punch being another. Didn't a lot of people like Five Finger Death Punch's cover of what song was it? Gone Away by the Offspring?
They've done so many covers recently that I've completely lost track as to which ones they have and haven't done. That Blue on Black cover, really like that song just as it is, and I do like the cover, but I think it's lazy on their part.
Interesting. Well, then again, not everyone's going to cover a song like Disturbed can, which, again...
Five Finger Death Punch. So Five Finger Death Punch did Blue on... I guess both Five Finger and a lot of covers. Five Finger is the one that did the cover of Blue on Black, though.
Okay. I'm going to take a listen to Blacktop Mojo doing Dream On, though, because that sounds... Especially if he can pull off doing that Steven Tyler voice... That's something that's absolutely insane.
100%. I mean, he hits the high notes and everything. He doesn't shy away from the real high notes at the very end of the song. He goes at them full force, and he absolutely nails them.
Nice.
It's really impressive, seriously.
Awesome.
Definitely give them a check out. They're super, super talented up-and-coming band.
Will do. Also, what are your thoughts on Volbeat?
I can't understand a goddamn thing they say, but they're fun to listen to.
Because they've got a new album coming out on August 2nd as well.
I heard about that new album, and I haven't heard really anything about it other than it's coming. And I think they have a single on the radio right now. What's the name of that song?
It might be Leviathan, because that one just dropped.
That's it. That's the one. And I really like them. I play a little bit of bass guitar every now and again. Not too much recently with doing kickboxing, but Volbeat was one of those bands that I really enjoyed playing because they're all over their guitars. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that one as well. It's gonna be a rough week for me because it's coming out the exact same day as Skillet, so I've got to do 2 album reviews all at once, and then like right as I'm finishing up with them, gotta jump a plane and go to Croatia.
What are you doing in Croatia? Soccer?
30 Seconds to Mars stuff.
Oh yeah, Camp Mars.
Yeah, so and then I got to do an album review for Slipknot while I'm there. So that's gonna be.
Speaking of which, Jared Leto, let them license your music. Loves you.
Thank you. if I get a chance to talk to him when I'm there, I'm totally doing it. Be like,
man, definitely.
Hey, let me get some of that music licensing.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of crazy that with how much time you spent involved with that band that that you're not licensed to use it yet. Then again, I mean, going back to your show a couple weeks ago where you said, "Hey, honesty is honesty," they might just be a little bit mad.
they might be, but then again, that's kind of the whole entire point of this whole project was I just wanted people's honest opinion on everything, and I was gonna be honest with my honest opinion on everything. I really like the band. I think when I made my list of top 10 favorite bands, I put them at number 4. Doesn't mean I have to like every single album.
100%.
Yeah, already.
I mean, really like Korn as a whole, but that whole dubstep album they did, what the hell?
Yeah, see, exactly.
Pile of garbage.
Exactly. There we go. And they don't have to absolutely love everything you do. It's just to and still have you as a favorite band. I mean, I can have my own opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Well, not on the internet. You can't.
And but on my platform, you can. All right, I got a couple other bands that have announced. I know In This Moment is announced an August release, but they haven't done anything to put anything out there yet. They just announced that they've like a title of the album and that it's supposed to come out in August, but there have been no singles, no press on it, nothing.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't release any singles or anything like that with the tour that they just got done. Or I think they just wrapped it up, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that tour that they're just wrapping up or just got done with, I'm surprised they didn't have any new music to kind of tease the next album that's coming out here soon.
They didn't even play any of the new music during the shows either. So that was really kind of concerning as well, due to the fact that I knew about that they were coming out with the new album even when I went.
Yeah, but I guess at the same time, it's one of those things where if you're doing an album or if you're doing I guess the tour wasn't even really necessarily for the album prior to it, given that album had been out since
2017.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to go and play shows.
Yeah, well, that's how you get paid in the music industry is you play shows. So, I mean, it makes sense.
That's true. Or you just, I'm trying to think of some other ways you make money in the music industry.
Merch.
You
play shows and you sell merch.
Lots and lots of merch.
So they start designing some super sick tees. They're just going to have to keep playing the shows.
Yeah, but when I was there was a lot of people. I looked at some of the tees that they had for In This Moment. I'm like, damn, those ain't bad.
Really? I get a tee typically to almost every show. I've been favoring sweatshirts recently, but I typically get something every show I go to. The band that was most favorite for me. One show that I saw that was really, really a lot of fun was Crown the Empire, Dance Gavin Dance, and who was the headline? Under Oath was the headliner.
Oh, wow.
That was a lot of fun. That was my first experience with Dance Gavin Dance. That band was... there was something going on with the vocalist, I believe, where he was sick that night, so he wasn't able to play the show. So they basically did the entire set, but just without his vocals, and the crowd sang every single one of his parts without any prompt or anything like that. It was pretty crazy.
God damn! And actually, speaking about Crown the Empire, they're coming out with a new album in like 3 weeks.
Crown the Empire is one of those bands that I really, really, really like live, but I didn't like their album as much when I listened to it on my own. They have that song Machines, which is my favorite song that they have out right now, and I think that they're a band that's going to be around for a while. I think they just have a little bit of trial and error to go through first.
It seems like they're kind of correcting that with some of the singles that I've heard so far off of the new album.
I haven't gotten to listen to their singles, but I'm really excited, and I'm definitely going to give those a check out, because Crown the Empire is one of those bands that I really want to like. They're just not quite there for me yet.
I think, so far with the singles, I think this album might get you to like them more, but I just don't think right now with the singles that have come out, it's going to be the one that gets them over the hump.
They were actually my favorite show of that entire set, between Crown the Empire, Dance Gavin Dance, and Under Oath, and that entire show was really, really, really good. So it says something that, live, they were amazing.
Damn. Well, no, that's another band I have to go fucking see live.
As I said, I definitely don't judge them off the album because the album didn't do it for me. But when you see them live, they're a hell of a show.
Well, that's what I'm kind of hoping when, because it's like, I think right before Rock USA, because on that Wednesday, I'm going to see Evanescence and Of Mice and Men at the rave. And I really have not ever gotten into Evanescence, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens during a live set.
On a kind of a side note, I'm basically in between jobs right now. I worked for AT&T and I'm quitting because, well, they are. My boss quit. Everybody quit. It's a terrible job right now. I'm leaving them. So I'm going to be having some free time here. And I believe I'm coming up to Milwaukee for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks even.
Oh, really?
So if there's any good shows coming up, we're definitely going to have to catch a show together here coming up.
Well, well, like I said, that Evanescence and Of Mice and Men show is the day before Rock USA.
I would see Of Mice and Men, but Evanescence makes me want to throw myself off a bridge.
Well, Of Mice and Men is the opener now, so then you would have to go and say for Evanescence.
That's fair. And I believe Of Mice and Men is actually also at Rock USA, where you better believe I'm going to be seeing them.
Oh, I'm definitely certain that you would, but because I'm trying to think if you come back to Milwaukee, because do you know when you would be coming back for a couple weeks?
So my last day is the 30th, 31st of whatever this month, whatever day it is. So I'm going to be off from the 1st to the 22nd, and I believe I've been thinking about staying out in Milwaukee for the whole 3 weeks.
Well, shit, because I'm trying to think, because the 29th at Summerfest, August Burns Red is playing, and I might go check that out, and then I'll probably go. And then I know Skillet's playing on July 6th, and I'll probably go see them again just because I kind of want to go see them again.
That's a really Summerfest is a really good way to see which direction the music industry as a whole is kind of trending.
Oh, I've got a whole take on that too, because you take a look at what's going on, especially take a look at how the amphitheater is set up, and it's just pop acts, country acts, and like older rock bands. That's basically it.
The older rock bands kill me inside. It's like, I'm happy you're trying to include rock, but for the love of God, can we put someone under the age of 60 or under the age of 60 is going to want to see?
Well, I had a conversation with a lot of people about this, and like there's really five types of music that Summerfest really has been keying in on. They're going towards pop music because that's what's going to get the attendance to drive up. You're going to get the kids to come, and they're going to just attendance numbers are just going to skyrocket. However, they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay any money due to the fact they're not going to buy anything else when they're there.
I would argue that EDM is the way that that the music industry is trending right now as a whole. As EDM is growing really, really heavily in popularity, and I think that's going to be the main player here really, really soon.
Well, I mean, Marshmello and A Day to Remember just made a track together and released it like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, they did. I mean,
I've refused to listen to it.
I haven't either, to be completely honest with you. I've also been kind of avoiding it just solely based off of principle.
Same here.
And yeah, the EDM scene is growing huge. I mean, who is it? My wife's, I don't even know what not nephew or niece, cousin, basically younger cousins all go to EDM shows. And it seems like most of the younger crowd is kind of what they're all getting into. I could be completely wrong. It seems like trap and EDM are the two.
Yeah, and then also you get because I'm gonna go back with Summerfest, and they bring in a lot of country acts too, because you're gonna get a rather diverse group of people in the age range, I should say, in the age range. But one of the things you're really gonna get from there anyway is those people love to spend fucking money.
Yeah, they do. Country, you show up and you get at least 8 or 9 beers at $10 a pop. That's some easy money.
Well, I mean, I heard a bunch of horror stories from a couple people I work with from the concert they went to on June 20th at the Pfizer Forum because Carrie Underwood was playing, and just how just trashed people got. I mean, of course, I'm laughing hysterically hearing all of these stories. Like one of the girls, she's like, "Yeah, we were standing next to this one lady, and by the time she got there, because they were in the pit, it's just like, she was drunk off her ass. I think her tit popped out like 4 or 5 times. She peed herself.
Yikes! Everything's fine with the last part."
Yeah, and then there are people just passing out in their seats from drinking too much before the show. It's like, hey, if you want to spend $100 to go see Carrie Underwood and pass out in your seat, more power to you.
I'm a little more of an anarchist, so I'm kind of, do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. I mean, I guess if you're peeing on somebody's seat, you're kind of hurting somebody. But if you want to show up and get blackout drunk and listen to your music, as long as you're not driving home and hurting others, I don't give a crap.
You do have a point. I'm just kind of surprised. Like that's what you're doing. Okay, you're good, but just still kind of surprised that you're spending that amount of money and just
definitely. I at Rock US or not Rock USA Northern Invasion a couple of years ago, me and Allie both had a day where we probably could have got a little more out of our money had we moderated our alcohol consumption a little bit better.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me that what you guys did. You guys pretty much just like gone by like 5 PM, just like fuck.
It was earlier than that.
It was earlier than
it was my first rock festival and it was day 2. So I'm like, well, I feel like crap from the day before. The only way to beat this is going to be to dive right back into it. And I dove. I did a cannonball.
You literally took the Archer approach. The collective hangover will kill me if I stop.
Yeah, basically. That was the only way to go. And a little more experience, a little wiser, a little smarter. Basically, just drink water and you'll be fine. So now that I learned that lesson the hard way,
so now what?
Good to go for all future festivals.
I'll say. So now what? You're gonna have like a vodka lemonade in your hand and like a little backpack on with a Camelback.
No, I'm gonna have a little water in my hand and then a backpack with vodka lemonade.
Okay, that's better. That's so much better than what I was thinking. Just like full on like 8-ounce sip of vodka lemonade, a little sip of water. We're good.
And I remember it's our that Northern Invasion. We had this guy camping next to us. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but Native American dude, one of the most hospitable people I ever met. Wake up first thing in the morning, he's sitting out there cooking up a breakfast sausage. He said, here's a breakfast sausage and here's some Corbels. Corbels is brandy for anybody there. And basically I was pulling brandy at like 8 o'clock in the morning because the sun was already out and I couldn't sleep anymore. And that was probably what kind of led to the downfall of that whole afternoon.
God damn, it sounds like spring break.
I've never gone to a spring break celebration, but I gotta imagine it's pretty on par.
Well, there was the one day I passed out by noon, or I blacked out by noon, and I came to my senses at 8:30 by sitting in front of a picnic table with a beer in one hand and a pizza in front of me, and I had no clue what happened to me for the previous 8 hours.
Honestly, anytime you come to with a beer and a pizza in your hands, you don't really argue with what you did to get to that point. You did well.
No, I wasn't arguing. I just asked my buddies, what the fuck happened? Because how do I go from walking on the beach at noon, all of a sudden like rubbing my eyes, and next thing I notice it's 8:30 and I've got a pizza in front of me and a beer.
Because you got some damn good friends.
Pretty much, yeah.
Anytime you black out and you wake up with pizza and beer, I mean, that's the best you can ask for.
God damn it. It's like, and I'm thinking like, I got to do that again, but I don't want to black out again at the same time.
Yeah, my game plan is to remain conscious through all festivals and concerts I go to. Whether or not I have to stop back at the tent and take a little booze nap kind of varies.
Makes sense. The nap and rally, it fucking works. It fucking works.
Basically, what we wind up doing is kind of sacrilege, but a lot of times we wind up skipping the headline the second night to kind of recover for the other nights. But weirdly enough, every festival that I have gone to, the headliners the second night are Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie. And both of those bands, I mean, don't get me wrong, Manson and Zombie are legends in their own right, but they're not really bands that I care about. So the fact that we can skip the headliners and see basically good shows all day, then go back to camp, drink, shoot the shit, make some burgers and recuperate makes it really nice. We're going to be able to do that same exact thing this year too, which kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, because taking a look at it on that second day, I mean, you can see Blacktop Mojo, you can see Escape the Fate, Dance Gavin Dance, you could see Lacuna Coil if you wanted to, Of Mice and Men. Heck, you see In This Moment if you wanted to as well. And then after that, you kind of just say, screw it, we're just going to go and chill for the rest of the day and then get ready for a fucking insane Saturday. My God.
Joey's dad is an absolute huge Clutch fan, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing Clutch as well. I mean, Clutch is one of his favorite bands. I don't necessarily 100% understand it, but hey, if it's your favorite band, I'll be there rocking with you.
Especially if it's Joey's dad too. I mean, that guy can be just go fucking nuts.
There's another festival we're going to for just one day. I think
Hey,
something in Kentucky.
I'm kind of losing you.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right, I think I got you back real quick.
Am I back?
No, not really.
It's worse outside.
Yeah.
God, I'm going upstairs.
Yeah, I think it's a little worse that, but you say you're going to one in Kentucky?
I believe it's Kentucky, yes. I have to look it up, but we're going for one day because it's an absolute stacked lineup. We're going to be taking an RV out there.
I know exactly what festival you're talking about. You're talking about Louder Than Life.
I think it is Louder Than Life.
Yeah, because it's the end of September.
Is that the one with Slipknot headlining?
Yep.
Yep, that's the one. Really, really excited to go see that show. We're literally just going for Friday.
All right, let's take a look at the Friday lineup just to be... Slipknot, Stained, A Day to Remember, Chevelle, I Prevail, Beartooth, Motionless in White. Holy fucking shit!
What more do you need for an afternoon?
Can you pick me up on the way?
Honestly, if we have an open spot in the camper, I will talk to them and I will see if we can get you on that trip.
Please do, because this looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the best afternoons of rock and roll. I mean, I really want to stay for the other days, but it sounds like the group consensus is that it's going to be one day going there, one day at the festivals, one day going back. But for that it's going to be one day out, one day at the festival, one day kicking it in Kentucky, and then one day coming back. So it's going to be a 4-day trip.
Yeah, but again, take a look at the Friday, which is I'm baffled. This is absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, that's probably as good of a lineup as there is at any festival for one single day right now. I mean, if you can name a better one, good luck.
I can't. Just taking a look at this, I can't. When you got Slipknot, Stained, again, Chevelle, I Prevail, Beartooth, Motionless in White, and goddamn.
And you know who's going to have their new album by then? Slipknot. Yup, I'm pretty excited for that. So I'm going to be able to see that new album for the first time live. Actually, it's going to be my first Slipknot show ever, which is crazy, but I'm super excited for it.
God damn it! Now I hope you guys have an open fucking spot so I can jump in on that. I
mean, yeah. Have you ever gotten the honor to see A Day to Remember live?
No, I never really got into A Day to Remember at all. The first time I really actually heard A Day to Remember was back in 2016. Yeah, back in like 2016.
Was the song "Downfall of Us All"? Was that the one that got you into them?
No, actually, I never really fully got into them, and then I kind of just wrote them off due to circumstances I don't really care to talk about at the moment. But
fair enough.
But if like the songs that I kind of listen to or anything off of a lot of stuff that like off of What Separates Me From You, so like All I Want, Better Off This Way, that kind of stuff.
That was also absolutely insane concert. They opened up with the tune "Downfall of Us All," which, if you're unfamiliar with, you should really familiarize yourself. It's one of the best openings to a song ever. And the entire crowd just turned into one giant mosh pit right out the get-go. I mean, we were standing in a crowd of about 6 or 7 people, me and a group, and 30 seconds into that song, none of us could see any of the others. So they just got pushed in their own directions.
Okay, that sounds fucking awesome.
It was the most rowdy show that I've ever been to. At least it was the most rowdy song I've ever been a part of right off the bat.
All right,
they know how to kick some doors down when they open up.
All right, then. Well, hopefully for Louder in Life, they do the exact same thing.
I'm sure they will, because they've had that song in their bag since basically they started, and they still open to it as of a couple of years ago. So I don't imagine they stopped.
I don't imagine they stop either. Alrighty, I got actually 2 more new albums that I know for sure are coming out, and then one where actually not sure if it's coming out, but we'll find out tomorrow actually, which is kind of cool.
Juicy.
So the one we'll find out about tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure it's a new album due to the fact that what's been leaked already, or actually been released, have been lyrics for a new song from the band. So it looks like it's a new album, is Killswitch.
No kidding. Killswitch Engage gonna drop a new album, huh?
That's the way it looks.
Man, I remember that went to Killswitch's show, and the guitarist just left the stage in the middle of the song, went and ordered a couple shots from the bar, and came on back. Really, really funny.
Oh my God, where was that?
The rave.
What did you see him at the rave?
They played with Anthrax, actually. It was Killswitch and Anthrax they were on a co-headlining tour, and Anthrax was opening up that night, and Killswitch had the main event of the evening.
Wow, because I saw them once at the rave too, but they were opening up for Rise Against.
Definitely not that show. No, they were the headliner that day, and it was a really good show.
I'm kind of pissed I missed them when they came to the rave in May.
Were they back that recently?
Yeah, they were back on, I think, on the 16th.
I missed the rave. That's a really, really good venue. I don't know if you realize it or not, but that's a cool place to go see shows at. The
good amount of places I've seen shows at recently have been rather good. I mean, I still like going to the Aragon in Chicago because it's kind of the same concept as the rave, except it's a little more, instead of that being like an oval, it's more like a square. The rave, of course, and then this one in Madison that I saw Moshe Soy and Atreyu at. It's called the Sylvie. It's a much smaller venue, but it's constructed real well to where if you want to get fucking rowdy, they've got basically the pit where everyone's going to be watching the show. It's kind of dug in, so if you want to get to the bar, you kind of walk. It's kind of like the little lobby and bars are like elevated a little bit above the floor.
I've heard a lot about the Sylvie. I've never gotten to see a show there, and that's one of those venues that, given how much time I spent out in Wisconsin, I really want to be able to make it to at least once to see some show out there.
I definitely am always looking now to see, because when I talk to my brother, he's like, yeah, don't look for any shows at anywhere in Madison during the summer because everything they do is outdoor. But like once September hits and they start going back to like the Majestic into the Sylvie, you're gonna want to start looking again. I'm like, oh, yay!
Yeah, and there's not a lot. I've been kind of keeping an eye out for shows, and there haven't been a whole lot that have been coming out to the Armory recently. I mean, there was the Avatar show that was out here not too long ago, but I wound up missing that. I think that was right after Joey Warner came out and visited, and he had left, and I was a little low on funds after spending the weekend with them, so I needed to take a break and never got to see it. But other than that, there hasn't been too many shows out here in Minneapolis that have really been worth seeing, at least in my opinion.
Interesting. So I thought that there would definitely be some that would be out there, but then again, I try to think, when I was up there for school, there was really no shows out in Minneapolis that I really cared to go see anyway. And
the rock community out here has kind of taken a turn. 93X, like the local rock station, they're the main player in rock right now for radio out here, and all of their stuff is basically pop. It's pretty rough.
Interesting. So, still from when you left at the end of last year, it still hasn't changed much here. It's still kind of the same scene. So, guess that's a good thing.
1029 is a pretty good station. They've gotten a lot better. They used to be all like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and that kind of stuff, which Soundgarden, cool. Pearl Jam, not a huge fan of. I can't understand a goddamn thing Eddie Vedder's saying, but forgot where I was going with that. 100%.
You talk about radio stations, 1029, what they've.
Oh yeah. 1029 is pretty good, but I really like what 95.1 and 94.1 are doing.
95.1. I wish their reach was a lot further than it is because it's based out in Kenosha.
Yep, and the 94.1 in Madison Station. They must have put some new towers up because I received them in Milwaukee a lot better than I did when I had first started trying to listen to them.
I still have trouble trying to get 95.1. It's still not the best, but then again, I've still listened to all my stuff just based off of whatever I have.
Well, let's be real. Everybody these days is basically using Spotify and Pandora. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately for radio is kind of becoming a dying art with how easy applications make everything to listen to.
Yeah, but again, it's just a change of the times. It's either you evolve or you die. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And radio stations have ways to evolve with like iHeartRadio and everything like that.
Yeah, and then also except artists can even do stuff themselves to kind of put their music out there without even going forward and putting it out on the radio. and kind of staying relevant too, because I know Motley Crue was staying relevant for some time before even that movie came out on Netflix, because Nikki Sixx had his own radio show, he had his own podcast, he had all that shit, and then all of a sudden The Dirt comes out, and now everyone's into fucking Motley Crue again.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird little episode. I didn't really see that coming.
Did you actually watch the movie though?
I never saw the movie. I just never expected Motley Crue to rise to the popularity that they did from it.
The movie was kind of campy and just kind of ridiculous, but that's kind of the way Motley Crue was, so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you have Machine Gun Kelly playing Tommy Lee, that's you can't expect the best acting.
What did you think of that song, The Dirt?
I actually didn't even listen to it.
I think it's a meh. It's not like the worst thing I've ever heard. It's not the best, but
all right, well, ladies and gentlemen, Chris is giving the song The Dirt a meh.
Meh. Yes, that's a fair rating for it. I mean, it's Motley Crue. Machine Gun Kelly is. I mean, we could get into the rap side of things too with Machine Gun Kelly. I mean, that dude is all over the board as far as making decent music and not just putting out garbage. But the song with Motley Crue wasn't bad. But
still just kind of meh.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I get why they did it. I mean, being on the set together and doing everything that they were doing for that movie, it only made sense that they made a song together. But that's just it. It was a movie it was a song for a soundtrack.
Yeah, that pretty much makes sense, because a lot of the songs for soundtracks too, there's some that really come out there just like, holy fucking shit, where all this come from? But then there's a lot of them. I mean, I'll say probably about 95-99% of them just kind of just, oh, okay.
I know Linkin Park did one for Transformers.
I was not a fan of the ones that Linkin Park did for Transformers. I just thought they were way too soft for what Linkin Park could have done, especially when you're revolving around a Transformers movie directed by Michael Bay with a bunch of fucking explosions. I think the best one I heard that was a song for a soundtrack that just went absolutely insane was I Stand Alone by Godsmack.
What soundtrack was that off of?
It was off of the movie The Scorpion King with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Are you serious?
Yeah, back in 2002.
I didn't even know that. I've watched that movie a couple times and I've never connected that.
They put the song in. It's the song that plays throughout the whole entire part of the credits at the end of the movie.
Man, that movie gets the award for worst CGI scene in the history of forever.
No, Mummy Returns.
That scene where The Rock is half scorpion. Oh my god!
I just cringe every time. Oh my god! I thought that was the coolest shit back in 2001, 2002, and I watch it and I'm like, what the hell are they thinking?
It was a half scorpion The Rock. I mean, it's dope, but man, CGI has come a long way since then.
Oh, thank God! Otherwise, we'd have to deal with that kind of CGI over and over and over again, and well, who knows how movies like the Transformers would have turned out then?
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, you just see some bad CGI exploding via Michael Bay.
Michael Bay if Michael Bay can't get the shot right for an explosion, he will go out there and make the explosion himself. Don't question Michael Bay and his goddamn explosions.
I was doing something with, I can't remember what I was doing. It was something revolving around Michael Bay. I think it was messaging people. It's like, hello, in the style of Michael Bay. It was just a gif of just this huge explosion.
That's probably how you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you just give somebody an M40, and that's how you say hello in Michael Bay, or an M80. That's it. M4. Is there an M40 and an M80?
I don't think so. I know there's an M80 though, but
yeah, we'll go with M80. M40 is probably a gun.
Probably. But did you ever see, just because speaking of Michael Bay, did you ever see on YouTube the trailer for Up, if it was directed by Michael Bay?
I have not, but that sounds hilarious, because I bet all the balloons are filled with explosives.
Oh, it's anytime something touches something, it just explodes.
Yeah, that honestly, I'd pay to see it.
The ending, I just knowing you, the ending of that video, just how they end it, it will make you laugh hysterically.
I'll give that one a check out when I get a little bit of free time. That's one that you're going to have to send to me. I'm going to forget, because when you tell me to remember Michael Bay and Up in the same thing, it's not going to happen.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you pretty much probably either right away after this, or I'll have to write it down and send it to you tomorrow. All of a sudden, you'll be like, "Oh shit, I have to check this out," and then, well, yeah.
So going back to Linkin Park, recently discovered this song called "Cross Off" with Mark Morton and Chester Bennington. Have you heard that?
Wait, what? You're gonna have to say that again.
I found this song "Cross Off" by Mark Morton featuring Chester Bennington from way back in the day. It's a really cool little tune that I had no idea existed. It popped up in my Spotify recommended for you, whatever the hell playlist, and a pretty cool song.
Say, does Chester just go absolutely hard?
Chester, he does a lot more, it's a lot heavier than Linkin Park would normally go for Chester.
Holy shit.
Would have. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, I got it pulled up on my computer now. I'm not gonna play it though, but I've got it pulled up just for the fact that once I'm done with this, I can just hit play and listen to it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I never really, I liked Linkin Park for a long time. That album Meteora, and the one before Meteora, Hybrid Theory, both really good albums, and that was probably my primal listening to Linkin Park. And they kind of lost me when they went to the album with Castle of Glass. Or was the album Castle of Glass?
No, I don't think that was the name of the album. I'm trying to think what the album's name was.
Hunting Party?
It might have been Hunting Party. I know the one you're talking about is the one. No, it's not Hunting Party. It's the one. Not
it's the one before
Things. Shoot, what is it? God damn it! I'm trying to pull it up. 1,000 Suns.
Yeah, there we go. Kind of lost me a little bit when they went electronic, and I don't know exactly which phase of Linkin Park was in when this song dropped. So honestly, I don't know a ton about it other than it just popped up kind of out of nowhere, and it was a really good tune.
Let's see when that song popped up, though. Again, I'll pull it up to see if I can find it.
Sure.
Let's see what we have. Anybody, if I can find it. Alright, this came out in. Oh wow. I don't know how long Mark Morton's had this, because I'm looking on Spotify, he's only got one album. They put it out this year, and it's just taking a look at it, every single song that he has features someone completely different on vocals, except for one of them.
Yeah, I don't know much about Mark Morton, but the impression that I got is that he either does. I don't know much about him. He must be either the drummer or the guitarist, or maybe he does both. I don't know for sure, but all I know is the instrumental part of that. It rocks. So
yeah, because I'm taking a look at some of the other vocalists that he's worked with on this album. I mean, I've got Chester, I've got Jacoby Shaddix. He's got a track with Miles Kennedy. So
yeah, it might be one of those albums that's worth actually giving a look into and hearing it all the way through.
I mean, just taking a look at kind of like when you're featuring a lot of vocals like this, it kind of reminds me a lot of Apocalyptica, where they always just bring in like a guest vocalist like Corey Taylor or Adam Gontier to give a shot and make an album or make a song, see what happens. And I like Apocalyptica when they go with their stuff, because they always give that more, it kind of like at times they can do more orchestral sound, and it's just.
I completely forgot that Apocalyptica was a band. I used to really like that song, I Don't Care, back when it came out.
Yeah, with Adam Gontier.
Yep.
Well, because again, when you listen to it, it just sounded directly like it could be right off of 3 Days Grace, except it was just a little bit slower than what they would normally do.
And as you were saying, a little more orchestral too. It had more strings in it.
I know. I'm becoming a real sucker for the orchestral stuff lately.
I haven't liked the orchestral stuff as much. I've really liked bands that can execute a rap rock fusion, and there aren't many.
No, they're not.
There's, what's the name of the band? Not Gideon. Oh, crap. I'll have to look through this playlist really quick. But there's another. Wilson. Wilson is another band that's doing kind of a rock thing.
Oh fuck! I saw Wilson because they opened up for Trey and Motionless in White.
What did you think of them live?
I was really curious about it, because I'm like, who the fuck is this? Because their sound was hard, but their get up on stage looked really fucking goofy. So it really did mesh. It was one of the more confusing shows I was at, but I thought, just taking a listen to the music, Wilson has something that's there. It's just they haven't hit yet.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bands kind of sitting on the edge of glory right now, and basically anybody that's kind of on the undercard for the show for rock festivals are a lot of those up and coming bands, and those are the ones that I'm really, really excited to see. I know not as many people are excited to go see the early bands when it comes to rock festivals, but those are the ones that, I mean, check them out while they're making a name for themselves.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're going to make a name for themselves, and then you're going to want to see them on tour. And it's like you had a chance to see them when you're at this festival, but maybe you just kind of passed them by. Because I've talked to a couple of bands on the podcast as well that a couple of them are kind of starting to get on that scene where they're going to be a part of those music festivals, but they're going to be the earlier shows. And I've listened to their stuff. I'm like, holy shit, these guys have something. And they're definitely on the cusp of something. So they're going to end up, taking it one step further and being early shows in some of these larger festivals.
A couple of those bands right now. This band Varials, really, really solid, and Tooth Grinder. You've probably heard Tooth Grinder before. They have a song called Blue, which is kind of their big song. And I don't think a lot of people know it's by them, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people know the song.
I think I have heard that song before, actually. Because the two bands I'm really kind of looking at right now are Kingdom Collapse and then Ascending from Ashes. I've really gotten in more of Ascending from Ashes due to the fact that I had him on the podcast, and then we're working a lot with John Moyer of Disturbed. So
really, what are they doing with him?
He's doing a lot of just kind of like he's a lot of consulting for him. It's like when it comes to producing their music and just like taking a listen. All of a sudden, here's what I would do at this point. Here's what I do at this point. Just kind of doing a lot of that stuff. Heard some funny stories about how the dude cannot hang on to his coffee. So
how do those guys actually know each other?
That I don't know exactly how they got connected with them. And in all honesty, I never really asked how they got connected with them. I just knew that they worked. I just knew that he worked with them. That's
really crazy. I would have never expected a band like that to be working with Disturbed.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I've listened to their music and I really like where they're going with it. And I expected a band like actually more like the other band I interviewed and talked to about Kingdom Collapse. I expected them to be more that kind of like style that John Moyer would kind of go towards, but hell,
anytime you got someone like that in your corner, you're off to you're destined for good things.
Yeah, and especially with the fact of the matter is the guys even promoting them on the tour too that they're going on. When I saw them, I'm pretty sure that Moyer was wearing one of their band T-shirts. Actually,
I would believe that.
I mean, when they're at Rock USA, if you see that he's wearing I'll send you the design too if I don't get a chance to go and just see if he's wearing it, because I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was.
Speaking of people wearing people's T-shirts, do you know who Greg Hardy is?
Greg Hardy?
Yeah, the guy who used to be in the NFL.
Yeah, and then tried to go to the UFC.
Yeah, he's actually still in the UFC, but he what's the thing? Something Vital Remains. He wore this T-shirt called Vital Remains, which is actually Joey's dad's nephew's band.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're called Vital Remains, and they're really big in like South America. They're like deathcore, black metal, like as heavy as it gets, like even too heavy for me heavy. Oh my god. And Greg Hardy wore their shirt to a UFC weigh-in, I believe is what it was. Greg Hardy and death metal, harder than you like, is something I never expected to hear as a combination ever. Yeah, I don't know. Greg Hardy's got some demons. Like I can see him liking the dark stuff. Yeah, but I wouldn't expect him. Apparently he does. Apparently so. I didn't expect that, but holy shit. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's crazy that he was wearing their T-shirt out of all the bands to go out with. I believe that Greg Hardy trains at the MMA gym with Joey's dad's nephew, and that's how they're aware of each other. Okay, so then I'm like, there's got to be a connection somewhere. If that's a connection, then that's just fucking awesome. Yeah. So last time this year, or this time last year, nailed it. When we were getting to when we were getting ready for Rock USA this time last year, Joey's dad showed us that picture, and apparently they were on tour in South America and a whole bunch of stuff. They got a really big following down there. South America is crazy when it comes to rock and roll. They get up.
I've been actually curious about that, because when it comes to just different demographics, different regional demographics, because I know in the U.S. you're definitely gonna, and Canada you're gonna get that sense where that kind of music is gonna thrive. Along with when you go over to Europe, like Germany, the Scandinavian countries. I've never expected South America though.
South America has a huge metalcore scene. Definitely check it out sometime, because their shows are insane. There is no law. There is no law when you're in South America. You just do whatever.
Shit, we're gonna have to go to South America then just to go to a show.
If I wasn't such a gringo, I might. But I feel like I'm going to stick out in a bad kind of way.
Why? You're just tall.
I am tall and I look very robbable. And I don't care how many years of kickboxing or anything like that you've taken, you ain't gonna out kickbox a gun.
You do have a good point.
So South America, like Argentina and Brazil and just any of those crazy places that need to calm down a little bit, you can miss me with that for a little while.
Okay, then we'll just focus on shows that are here and not have to worry about going out to South America for the time being.
With that being said, though, I would totally go over to Europe for like Rock am Ring or anything like that. One of those German shows or one of the Scandinavian shows.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, rock bands pack stadiums over there.
Well, I mean, I looked at some of the video from this year from Rock am Ring, and it just looked absolutely insane, specifically from I Prevail, actually.
They're the band to be right now. I think they're on top of at least as far as radio play goes, they're on top of rock.
Well, I'm not sure if I don't think they headlined, but they were definitely one of the later acts at Rock am Ring. And I just, again, look at the videos that people took. It was just, the pit looked insane. There was a minimum of like 20 people crowd surfing at any given time. And I saw some photos of the show that they played at the Red Rock Amphitheater over in Colorado.
Yeah, that looked like it was an absolutely insane show. They were just completely packed.
I've always wanted to go out to see a show at Red Rock just to see what would happen. I thought about going out last year, but then I was like, I just don't have the money. And now I'm just like, well, I haven't even looked at their fucking schedule yet.
I think my old boss went out there to see a Fish show.
Why'd you go out to Red Rock to see Fish?
I don't know why you'd go to Red Rock to see Fish, but I mean, he said it was a good time. Apparently they're just, I don't know anything about them. Apparently they're a jam band, so they hung out there for a couple hours and drank and listened to music, and it was kind of a chill time.
If you saw him by like 2014 or later, then that makes total amount of sense because, legal weed.
Yup. I don't know how else you would see a jam band, but that's the only way I would know how to go.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like the only way to go when it comes to a jam band.
Legal marijuana is a really funny topic when it comes to bands, because I've been to so many concerts where, whoever's playing the show lights up a blunt on stage, and being in Wisconsin and Minnesota, you're not allowed to do that. But no one ever really seems to get called on it.
No, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever actually seen a show where someone just lit a blunt on stage and just was like, whatever. Most shows I go to, just, people are just either smashing beers or just chugging them and, just going nuts.
I saw the rapper Futuristic at Warped Tour a couple of years ago, and he just lit a blunt right up on stage. He sparked it right there on the Summerfest grounds, passed it to the crowd passed it back. Everyone's having a good time.
And they're not going to do anything about it, just because what happens all of a sudden, they're going to come on and arrest this guy on stage, because the last time that happened, people went fucking crazy. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you pull someone off stage for smoking a blunt, yeah, you're going to make a lot more problems trying to get the artist off stage than you are just letting him smoke it on stage. Well, I think the only person ever get arrested on stage at Summerfest was not even anyone musical. It was fucking George Carlin. What did George Carlin do? He did his 7 Dirty Words bit back in the 70s, and they arrested him for it. Oh, how times have changed. Yeah, now you listen to that bit, you're just like, yeah, this is pretty tame. That's soft.
Tell the dead baby jokes. Speaking of which, this guy Anthony Jeselnik tells a bunch of dead baby jokes. Really funny stand-up comedian. If you've never checked him out.
I never have, but usually when it comes to stand-up, I mean, mostly right now, I'm still concentrated on Bill Burr. I can't get enough of the guy.
Bill Burr. I don't think I've ever watched Bill Burr stand-up.
Oh my God. It's just a very angry man just ranting about whatever the fuck he feels like. It's beautiful.
Bill Burr sounds like the kind of guy I'd relate to. I'm an ordinary old grandpa at heart. Why can't things be like they used to be?
Yeah, pretty much that. He has a whole entire bit about if he was president, that he'd be like, yeah, 75% of you would have to go. You gotta prove your worth. If not, you're just walking right into the ocean.
That's kind of where I'm at. I would not make a good leader. I would be a dictator, and people would not like me.
So he also talks about how he'd start getting rid of people by selecting them just by sinking cruise ships.
Just by sinking cruise ships.
It's like if you're dumb enough to spend all your money to go on a freaking cruise, then you deserve to get shot down. Just Bill Burr going off on it. It's just like I just couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was freaking hilarious. Or when he talks about the epidemic of gold digging whores.
Oh, have you ever seen the videos going around on YouTube of people who like trick gold diggers into being gold diggers, then hand them a golden shovel?
Yeah, I'm seeing those.
Those get me every single time.
I think one of the best ones I saw was just some guy just like talking to some girls like and just saying whatever. She was just completely ignoring him. All of a sudden, valet pulls up with his car. He's got like a Bugatti or a Lambo or something like that. And all of a sudden she's like, "Hey, wait a minute."
I think it was. I know which one you're talking about. I think it was a Corvette, actually, like a really nice Corvette.
Shoot, I'm gonna have to look that one up now.
And he's like, "Yeah, I hopped in the car," and she's like, "All right." He's like, "Wait here 1 second." Opens the trunk and pulls out the shovel. Man, he's taking a risk. Because man, if one of those girls takes that shovel and starts beating his car, he's gonna have money to pay.
No, I think the bigger risk is all of a sudden she gets in the car, he's like, hold up, gets out, and then is going to get the shovel. What's saying she just like jumps in the front seat and all of a sudden just says, "See ya," and takes off.
Well, Grand Theft Auto is a bitch. And when it's over, I don't know what it's a felony. I think it's over $1,000. You're going to be hard pressed to find a Corvette under $1,000.
I don't think it's possible to find a Corvette under $1,000.
You're probably right. 'Cause even if it's just the engine sitting on a slab of hay, it's still going to be $1,000 for the engine.
I've got a feel there's probably someone out in the middle of freaking Wisconsin that just got a Corvette engine sitting on a haystack, just like, yep, that's that.
the rainy day fund.
Yeah, pretty much. That's $1,000 right there. Rainy day fund.
Man, rural Wisconsin as a whole, it's really weird. Have you been to the Rock USA grounds?
No, I just passed them today actually when I was coming home. It's
just all cornfield everywhere around. You feel like you're just sleeping in giant cornfields. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's just an emptied out farm field. It feels kind of like I imagine Woodstock would.
Probably, yeah. And then did you see they're trying to do Woodstock 50 this year?
I saw that they were looking to do a Woodstock meeting, and that is something I would really, really, really want to go to.
Apparently, they're having a shit ton of problems with it. It's like they had a venue, and all of a sudden, like apparently, like people are backing out. Then all of a sudden, they're missing payments. But it's like, oh, it's still going on. It's like, what's going on here, guys?
I think they released like a couple of artists that were going to be headlining, and if I remember correctly, I mean it was slated to be an absolutely massive event.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they still have the whole entire thing out there. I'm pulling it up right now just to see what we have. Yeah, because taking a look at the headliners, I mean, we've got day one. They have the Killers, Miley Cyrus, Santana, the Lumineers. See who else is on that one.
I think they had Metallica. Eminem.
I do not see Metallica. I've got the Fever 333 actually on that.
That's good for them.
Dead and Company, Chance the Rapper, Sturgill Simpson, Greta Van Fleet, Portugal the Man. Let's see who else. Anybody that pops out in here. And then the third day, headliners Jay-Z, Imagine Dragons, Halsey, Cage the Elephant.
Man, Imagine Dragons is one of those bands that blew up so quick. I mean, I remember back in the day they played a bit at Summerfest, and
Yeah, you
that
remember.
was right when they released like Radioactive and all of those songs.
Well, oddly enough, it was the year before that they were opening up for Young the Giant, and I saw them then. And then remember the next year because it was there was five of us. It was you, me, Spitz, Minnick, and then Allie. I remember
Was
that was
was
the
that for the Hollywood Undead show, or was that for
no,
the?
that was for Imagine Dragons.
We went for Imagine Dragons.
No, I don't think we went for Imagine Dragons, but we couldn't go anywhere else because of how many people there were.
Was that the one where I punched a guy trying to push people through a crowd?
No, I'm pretty sure that was Hollywood Undead.
Nope. Allie is looking at me, nodding and saying, "Yes, that was in fact the Imagine Dragons show."
All right, well, thank you, Allie, for confirming that.
There, I I need to have a little bit better of a temperament, but there were these two guys where one guy was taking his friend and he was using him as a battering ram to push his way through the crowd up to the front, and he wound up pushing me and Allie out of the way, and that did not fly with me, and I basically wound up decking him. We went over to watch Pretty Lights instead.
Yeah, except like I was trying to remember that because I remember trying to get as close as we could in the crowd, and you, me, and Minnick had our shirts off because with the thought of no one wants to stand next to three sweaty dudes in a concert, and that kind of worked.
Yeah, yeah. Up until Imagine Dragons came on, and they were way too big for that goddamn stage.
Yeah, and not only that, but then with Pretty Lights on the other like bigger side stage too.
And one more stage down was Five Finger Death Punch.
We should have gone there.
Yeah, we probably should have, but
we done fucked up there.
But it was packed, and you couldn't go anywhere.
No, I think
they really need to work on finding a way to expand those Summerfest grounds. They need to buy more property and add another stage, or they need to find a different way about that because the crowding at that festival has gotten absolutely out of hand.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Cause there's not been a day that has been that insane since that day that we went in 2013. Because I've talked to my uncle about it too, because he was on the board. I'm like, has there ever been a day that was crazier than that? He said, what? Because I don't think he's on the board anymore. But he said, no, there's never been a day that has been crazier than that.
Yeah, that was one to take the cake, and that was actually kind of the event that made me slow down to going to Summerfest was that day specifically.
I think I may have to agree with you on that because that was like the last year that I went to Summerfest maybe like 4 or 5 times each year. Because then it was like 2 times or once, or I think 2017 I didn't even go at all.
And also rock bands as a whole haven't been being featured as much at Summerfest, so that's also been a contributing factor. I mean, if they were to bring big name bands, like if I Prevail was playing at Summerfest, I would definitely be there without question. But we don't see those kind of bands there.
No, we don't. Days. I mean, the only 2 bands that really perked my attention were August Burns Red and Skillet, and I mean, I might only go see one of them.
I mean, if you're looking at rock and roll as a whole, that's not a great way to show what rock and roll has to offer. Just those 2 bands.
No, just because it's too small of a sample size.
It's. I think you could drive the point home with like a Metallica show or some show like that on the main stage, but there's no featured rock and roll bands there. It's not something where it's only bands with a select following. Only rock bands with a very select following are ones that show up there. Budget bands, basically.
Yeah, because I'm trying to even think about it too. Because we were supposed to have Ozzy on the 4th, but then he backed out due to health problems. Then they replaced him with Megadeth, Papa Roach, and I think Bad Wolves. But then because Megadeth's lead singer has throat cancer, they backed out again, understandably so. So now that day's just going to be completely open. And the only other band that has any kind of rock music ties that's going to be playing at the amphitheater is the Killers.
And you would be hard pressed to get me to call the Killers a rock band.
No, they're more. I'd call them alternative, if anything.
That's where I'd throw them as well, as in the alternative category.
Okay,
again, where do you really draw that line these days? This seems like rock and alternative are becoming very, very similar.
Well, I think what's going to end up just happening is we're going to end up they're just going to become synonymous with each other. Either we're going to call it rock, or we're going to call it alternative, and then stuff that's harder is just going to have to be called. We're going to have to differentiate that a lot more, like hard rock, metal, metalcore, heavy metal, post hardcore, that kind of stuff.
And that definitely bothers me. A lot of the award shows, like the Grammys, I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. Beck won rock album or rock band of the year or something like that. The
Beck
rock
one?
community, of course, was not happy because nobody really looks at Beck as a rock band, except for, I don't know, maybe the Brits. That'd be it.
Yeah, because I mean, who else would have been up there though for that?
It was the same year that Metallica dropped their new album.
Alrighty, I'm gonna try and take a look at this.
Just look up Beck Rock Band of the Year.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. Just see if I can find out. Not best rock album. I want best rock band.
It might have been best album. Whatever the award was, it was one that Beck didn't deserve.
I'm trying to take a look, and I mean, I'm really not. So it looks like 2015
is when what was that, album of the year or band of the year?
I got album of the year, Beck Morning Phase.
Yeah, that was it. And I'm pretty sure 2015 was the same year that Metallica released their album.
Yeah, it's not even
Hardwired.
It's not even on here. Like for best rock album from that Beck beat out, I've got Ryan Adams, who I've never heard of, the Black Keys, Tom Petty, and U2.
Exactly.
And
that's how rock is represented on a music or on like a global music
and not only that,
platform.
but then like take a look at the album that U2 came out with that they put on there for best album of the year was the one that U2 put out for free that everyone fucking hated.
The one that came pre-downloaded on everybody's iTunes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I don't know why they only look at bands like that as rock bands. Those are the only ones that really seem to get notoriety. I mean, even for doing this spot on the podcast, I mean, I was looking up rock albums for this year. And when you look up rock albums 2019, you don't get a lot of rock bands. You get a lot of alternative bands.
No, that's why when I look at that stuff, I always look at what they're going to go for hard rock and heavy metal, because that's going to actually have more of what we actually want to listen to.
And yeah, it's crazy the disconnect between the award shows and the festivals. Because if you look at the festivals, that's what's representing rock and roll right now. Not really anything but that.
Yeah, and the festivals have all the stuff that, you know, these hard rock and heavy metal ones actually have. I mean, again, take a look at Rock USA. Again, who are the headliners? Five Finger Death Punch, Rob Zombie, and Disturbed. And then take a look at everyone else who's in there, and then you can kind of get a sense of who's actually the bands that people are listening to within that genre.
100%. And then, of course, there's always the people that are just on tour for that year, given that they're dropping albums, stuff like that. Which really surprised, didn't see Tool on at least any of the cards around here.
Yeah, I didn't see Tool on any of the cards around here either. I think they're spending more time like I'm in the southern states, actually.
I believe, if I remember correctly, based on their tour, they're doing a lot in the West Coast and a lot in Europe.
I wouldn't be surprised with them doing a lot in Europe, though.
They're one of those bands that they cater really well to the European audience. They have a really big following over there.
Well, I mean, when you get a harder sound, the Europeans really are getting into that harder sound, especially when you're talking about like Germany and the Scandinavian countries.
It seems like they like, just as a whole, it seems like they like the more melodic style, between like with Muse too, for example. Muse is absolutely huge over in Europe, and they have that more melodic style.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think, isn't Muse from England though, or am I wrong on that? I gotta look this up.
I believe you are correct in saying that Muse is European.
They're from England. I was right. Woo!
Which makes sense why they'd have such a big following over there, but they have a lot bigger following over there than they do here.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, but I know Muse still has it has a certain following over here, similar to what I'm trying to think of what a band that they have a similar following to in terms of like the fans, not necessarily the style of music, but kind of like how the fans treat the band.
Muse is a really interesting band when it comes to rock and roll. They have their albums vary so greatly from start to finish that one or two songs on the album can be rock, but by the time you get to the end of it, it's basically a symphonic piece.
Well, that's kind of the way it happened with Simulation Theory as well, because there were some that are on there. I'm like, I'm kind of cool with this, but just it was very melodic the whole entire way through. There are some songs that were harder than others, but I have a tough time fully getting into them. There are some songs I listen to like Drones. That song I really fucking like. Or no, Psycho off of Drones, my bad. That song I really
Well, the
fucking like.
song Drones off of that album was also really good, and it was a pretty heavy song. I mean, there was a lot of Reapers was another good song off of that album. That album as a whole was one of those albums that I just lit a blunt to and then let it ride. And that album is an experience from front to back. It's one of those sort of albums that is not only just standalone music, but it works as a collective in the order that it's placed to. It's kind of a story almost.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
A lot like Avenged Sevenfold's last album, where it was kind of a story. If you listen to it from front to back, Muse was in that same boat, and I really enjoyed that album for that reason.
Well, there's been a good amount of albums that have been kind of a story from front to back. One of them actually that came out this year was someone basically told me I had to listen to it so we could talk about it on the podcast. Was Flesh God Apocalypse's new album, because it went all into it went all about like. It told the story all about, like poisoning yourself and like how people are poisoning themselves with different areas in life. It's kind of more of like a social commentary instead of telling a story, but how they did it was very, telling a story throughout the whole entire album.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ascending from Ashes did the same thing on their last one too.
I'll have to listen to that one front to back. That's one of those things where I've listened to just, one song here and there. I never actually sat down and listened to the whole album.
That might be one where you want to do the same thing you did with Muse.
Yeah. Spark a J and let it rip. I live in Colorado, for anybody who's wondering.
Yes, he does. Well, I got actually one more album I want to ask you about before I send you on your way, because taking a look at it,
sure.
we've already crossed the 2-hour mark.
All right, hit me with it.
Alrighty. They came out with a new single this past Wednesday, and they're
are you going Blink? Are you going Sum 41?
No, I'm going Sleeping with Sirens.
Oh, Sum 41 has a. Sorry to go instantly off track.
Oh, that's
Sum 41 has a new song where they have a guitar solo. I can't remember what song it is. My friend Jake just showed me it. It was just the other day. But they have a guitar solo in that song where it sounds like it's just straight up Matt Shadows.
I'm going to have to listen to it again, because I've listened to the songs, the 3 songs they put out on that new album, but I can't remember which one you're talking about right now.
There was one that just got put out and it's heavy.
Shit. Was it Never There?
It could be. I'll have to check it out, but there's a mean guitar solo on that song.
I know it's not Out for Blood, because that was the first one that dropped. It's either A Death in the Family or Never There. That's one of the two that I think you're talking about.
I'll have to double check it, but it's a good song. But you were saying about other band.
Yep, Sleeping with Sirens.
Yep.
They came out with a new single, announced a new album in September.
I have not listened to Sleeping with Sirens a lot. I've listened to 1 or 2 songs, but that's all I've really gotten out of Sleeping with Sirens so far.
Do you have any recollection of what 2 songs they were?
Give me a second here. I'm hopping on the Pandoras, and I'm going to look at their most popular, because I guarantee it's in one of those.
On the
not Pandora. On the Spotify. Shout out Spotify. You're the real one. Leave It All Behind. No, not Leave It All Behind.
Leave It All Behind.
If You Can't Hang, and If I'm James Dean, You're Aubrey Hepburn.
Yeah, so basically what I've gotten out of it was, because I've listened to this thing probably like 10 or 11 times by this point, and they kind of were going towards more of like a pop rock sound as they progress through. But then all of a sudden they bring in Leave It All Behind, and it sounds just like kind of what they would do on If You Can't Hang or on If I'm James Dean, You're Audrey Hepburn. More like If You Can't Hang, though. They kind of went back to that harder, like kind of like that, not necessarily like, I'll say harder style than what they had been going with, but kind of like that style like they originally started out with it, with that specific song.
Sure.
And I was a fan of it. I'm like, finally they're going back to that, because that's what I thought when they had a really good sound, especially just because Kellen Quinn has that higher pitched vocals, and it can really work well in that spot. So I'm curious to see how the rest of the album turns out, and I think it's going to turn out the exact same way. And oddly enough, just because of that, I'm hoping that, because I think Pierce the Veil is also due for a new album, that they drop one, and then both these Sleep with Sirens and Pierce the Veil go on tour together.
That would be a pretty cool show to see together. Another one of those Band is Bullet for My Valentine still doing anything?
I think Bullet for My Valentine. Did they come out with a new album last year? I think it was. I know they came out with a new album last year, and a lot of people really didn't like it.
So that's one of those bands that it stems from Guitar Hero, but man, they had what was their big song?
Tears Don't Fall.
Tears Don't Fall, yeah, on Guitar Hero. Along with there was one other song on Guitar Hero too. I can't remember off the top of my head. What was their other big one? It was Tears Don't Fall, and
I'm really not sure.
Anyways, that's what really got me into that was playing trying to play their songs on Guitar Hero. Emphasis on trying.
Why, did you never ever actually complete the song, or?
Not well. If I go into practice mode, will let me get all the way through.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Same thing with me.
My brother was more so the Guitar Hero guy. He was really good. He could play like Raining Blood and Through the Fire and Flames and all that sort of crap. It was impressive.
God damn, I never was able to do that shit.
I believe he never beat Through the Fire and Flames on Expert, but he got like 76% or something like that, because there was one spot he'd always fail, but he'd do the practice, and I mean he was really good.
Well, shit, I mean, is he any good now, or?
I got to imagine he still is. He's in college, and if I know anything about college, you spend most of your time drinking and playing video games.
My God, that seems kind of weird. Just thinking that your brother's is in college. The fact of the matter is, just like, I remember when I first met you, he was like, what? He wasn't even in high school yet.
I mean, he actually just graduated with a degree in engineering, I believe.
God damn, nice.
Yeah, I know, right? And then there's me working AT&T and listening to rock. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I'd trade AT&T, and I'm in the middle of that, but but the rock part,
yeah,
hold on to that.
Hey, if you're happy with it, then you fucking won. That's simple
exactly.
As that.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to figure out how to make money and not have to work crazy 9-to-5s to do it. But until then, it'll be on to the next one.
That's what the fuck I'm trying to do with this.
Nah, I don't blame you. If it works, I'll be your sound editor or something like that. I'll be on the payroll.
First, let me get to that point. Then we can figure out something.
We'll find me a job.
Won't be too hard.
Well, you haven't worked with me.
Chief, what if it was just like chief concert goer?
Chief concert goer, yeah. If you want to promote me to lead concert analyst, I am 100% on board for that.
You probably just go absolutely nuts with that. But then again, you might have some competition from like Joey.
Yeah, I'd say I'd fight him, but Joey's huge. I don't care how much kickboxing I've done. That dude is built like a brick wall.
I think built like a brick wall accurately describes it.
He's the muscle hamster.
Yeah, that's a better way to go about it.
Not who was Doug Martin? He was the original muscle hamster, but yeah, Joey's built like Doug Martin.
I think Joey's built more solid than Doug Martin was.
Yeah. Did you see that him and a couple of the buddies are doing semi-pro football in Milwaukee?
No, I did not.
Absolutely hilarious. Apparently their team, this is just an absolute shit show, but they love every second of it. A whole bunch of disconnect. Nobody likes anybody. Everybody wants to be the star, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a semi-pro football team.
God damn it! Now, when you're back in Milwaukee for those couple of weeks, we got to go watch him play one game.
Oh, I really hope to get to. I told him that if I ever move back out there, that I want to be on the semi-pro football team as the tight end. He's like, honestly, if you practiced and lifted weights for like 3 months, you'd be in. I was like, wow, a lot of faith in the squad.
And then every play, first down, hand off to Joey. Second down, hand off to Joey. Third down, pass. Somehow to Joey.
Yeah, basically that man is an athlete, and he's going to keep doing his thing. He's actually moving out to Michigan. Lucky him, land of the legal pot.
Yeah, well, when is he moving out though? Is that right before Spitz starts his grad school?
Moving out in August, out to Michigan.
Shit.
We're looking out there because I was thinking about spending some time possibly living out in Michigan, because I got some family out there, and with Joey going out there, I figured, hey, might as well spend some time out there, see a new place. But when it comes to rock and roll, I mean, there are no festivals at all in
Michigan.
In Michigan, yeah, it's pretty bad.
And then in Wisconsin, we get 2 in the same fucking weekend.
I really want to look and see who it was, but he was looking for rock festivals, and there was like, these aren't the right bands, but like the biggest festival was like Buck Cherry and like I don't know, just two. It was just like 2 nobody bands, like with a whole bunch of real nobodies underneath them.
We have to tell him to take the fucking ferry back over across Lake Michigan back to Milwaukee and be like, "Hey, Joey, welcome back. So we're going to this festival now. You in?"
That's basically it. We were talking, and if we ever went out there, if you live in Michigan, you got to go out of state to see a festival. Actually, probably that festival in Kentucky is actually probably really close to Detroit, the Detroit area, only probably a couple hours. Plus, if you're over there, I mean, you got Rock on the Range, and whew, that's an event every year.
Yeah, was that the Rock on the Range? Is that the one in Ohio?
That is the one in Ohio. I believe it got renamed this year. It's no longer called Rock on the Range. It's something else, but it's still one of the biggest ones around.
It was, yeah, because I knew a couple people that went there. They said it was just fucking insane.
It definitely is. And they're one of those places, from what I saw, it looks like they don't have any sort of seating or anything like that, which is my biggest complaint about Rock USA. Rock USA has this section of seats in front of the main audience where it's basically like 20 rows of plastic lawn chairs that people who are willing to pay extra money go to sit in.
Oh.
But those chairs are completely empty except for the headliners. It's all a bunch of rich people that just choose to, if they want to go see the concert that night or not.
Oh,
Under Oath actually played during Rock USA last year. Under Oath came on stage, and they're like, I don't know, what was it? It was probably about 1 or 2 songs in. They just stop, and like the lead singer of Under Oath looks out there, and he's like, "The hell's up with all these empty seats?" It's like, "Do these guys pay more than you?" And the crowd is like, "Yeah, they did." And they're like, he's like, "You guys have our permission to come up here." And we look over at the security guard, and we're like, "Are we gonna be allowed to do that?" He's like, "I hope somebody does." And we're like, "Yeah, we're probably just gonna wait back here." But they were like, it was bad. I mean, all the bands, they knew it was kind of wrong there, because there's a pit area up front where if you pay extra money, you can go in the mosh pit for that show specifically. And it's a per show thing, which is nonsense.
Oh.
And then they have the 20 rows of seats, and rock bands, you can tell they're not a huge fan of having that divide there. So I'm hoping this will be the year that that we storm the gates and take out the Richies, the 1%ers.
I hope so, because I've heard even rock bands like at Summerfest, they can't stand the fucking benches because people stand them. It's like, well, they'd rather have everyone kind of together, so if people want a mosh pit, they can. But it's like, oh, you're standing on fucking benches. I've heard people just yell, "Get them the fuck out of there!" But I've also heard people say, "Take back the UP." So I'm surprised we haven't, but what you gonna do?
Yeah, you probably should. UP belongs to Wisconsin. I mean, if we're using water as the divide, then you guys own that. You should probably just invade.
Yeah,
you get a following.
Yeah, I think it actually was Rise Against who started. You guys should take back the UP thing. Just go and storm it. I was like, well,
that's
why?
because
Not a bad idea.
Aren't some who's from Chicago? Isn't there somebody from Chicago in Rise Against?
Wait, what was that?
Isn't there somebody from Chicago in Rise Against?
Every single one of them.
Oh, all right, yeah, that's it. They're just trying to start a war between Wisconsin and Michigan so that they can take over both when we're weak.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
True. Wisconsin's fueled by beer. You can't stop us. You can only incapacitate us for a couple hours.
We've got beer. We've got cheese. What else do you need?
Beer, cheese, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Fuel for an anarchy.
Pretty much.
Honestly, not much more you could ever really. Well, burgers, but you got burgers too. If you got cows, you got burgers, because we have cheese, so we have cows. We're fine.
Yeah, we got cheeseburgers. We got beer. We got rock. I mean.
Oh, and brats. Who could forget about Johnsonville?
Oh yeah, we got the. Are you trying to do a plug there for Johnsonville?
Johnsonville brats. Go beef, or whatever their slogan is.
Just go Johnsonville, hoo-ha, or something like that. I don't know.
Wasn't it Johnsonville go meat or go beef, and then a couple claps? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't even remember. Let's go with what's in your sausage.
Yeah, exactly. The racing sausages. That's what we have. We have giant racing sausages. We have beer, and we have rock roll. And
yeah,
Wisconsin's not a bad place.
Yeah, no one's gonna want to deal with a bunch of giant weenies running at you.
That's a fact.
Oh god! Alrighty, well, I'm just taking a look at the time. We've done 2 hours and 15 minutes. Holy shit! I think it's the longest I've ever had someone on the fucking podcast.
Yeah, you can edit it all together, make it look like we actually talked about something, something worth listening to. You'll do fine.
Oh, this is all worth listening to. What the hell?
No, this is all worth listening to. This has been a lot of fun. Actually, I haven't done something like this before, and it's a lot of cool. It's cool to be able to talk about rock and roll opinions on it. I appreciate you having me on here.
I appreciate you coming on, and definitely gonna have to do this again, maybe at the end of the year, and just go through the whole end of the year with you.
Yeah, one of these days we'll both go to a concert together, and we'll do a concert special or something like that.
Hell yeah! Or if I get the chance to go to Rockfest. Or no, Rock USA.
Yeah, you come to Rock USA and we can do a special live from Rock USA stream or something like that.
Oh, that'd be ridiculous. Or if that one person for some random reason decides not to go to Louder Than Life and there's a spot available, bring all this shit. We can just go from there.
Yeah, man, Louder Than Life. If we can get you on board for that, it's gonna be a hell of a time regardless. But if we can get you in for that, that'll be a really cool event.
Hell, I'm hoping for it. And even if I don't have the days off of work, fuck it.
With any luck, I'll convince them to leave Kentucky for that second day, and we can head down to Tennessee and tour old Jack Daniels and see what he has to offer.
Probably a lot of good fucking whiskey.
I would imagine plenty of good whiskey.
Let's fucking do it.
Hey, here's to hoping.
Well, I need some whiskey for that right now. Say, hey, here's to hoping. Ching. But
honestly, I think after I get off the phone here, I may crack open my Jack Honey couple shots.
Ooh, it actually sounds really fucking good.
Jack Honey is dangerous, and it is a good time.
Yeah, they'll probably have some special Jack Honey just for you.
Jack Daniels for real Americans. I'll just plug everything I like. You know what, everybody? You get a free shout out.
So we got Johnsville, we got Jack Daniels, and we got a bunch of rock bands. Sounds about right.
And Icy Hot, no mess.
Yep, again, sounds about right.
Exactly.
All right, well, again, Bud, thanks for being on the podcast. Love talking to you, and, well, hope to actually see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully I'll be seeing you here within the next week or so.
Yeah, just let me know when you're in Milwaukee.
Will do.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, man.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, so that was my buddy Chris, and as you can tell, he's just a freaking riot, and I'm just going to end with this because we went through a lot today. If I get a chance to go to that one of those shows with them, we will do some kind of a wacky podcast or wacky lecture, whatever it may be. I don't fucking know, but we're going to do something incredibly insane. Hopefully it's Louder Than Life, though, because, tour bus, literally fucking podcast right after the show or day after the show or just got on some crazy wacky adventures with a bunch of people who love rock music. Let me tell you, that's the fucking way to go. Well, if you listen to this whole entire thing, you made it through the whole entire thing, I want to give you a huge, and I mean huge thank you. Well, that was really weird, my voice. I was going to go huge thank you because I fucking love you guys. Hope you enjoy my buddy Chris because he is fucking awesome. And, well, that's going to be the show for today. This is the longest one we've done so far. I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for listening. Come back next week. This is the Chord Progression Podcast brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2008. My name's Kevin, and I end this all the same way. See ya! Oh.